All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live and on time for tonight's NASCAR Cup Series action as we have a live commentary stream coming for you guys for the running of the Ally 400 at the Nashville Superspeedway. It is the third race of the weekend for NASCAR, the Truck and the Xfinity Series, all in Nashville this weekend along with the Cup, and it is time for a little Sunday night race, one of the few night races on the schedule in 2023. It is another hot evening out in Lebanon, Tennessee at the area of where the racetrack is at. Maybe slightly warmer than it was yesterday. Air temp is a couple degrees cooler at the start of the race today versus what we saw during the Xfinity race yesterday afternoon, but the feel like temperature is almost 10 degrees warmer, so it is going to be a very a warm one there. It is a very rainy one behind me. I don't even know if you can see the window. I'm probably in the way, but it is whipping through here right now. We got some thunderstorms going on, so you'll have to bear with me. We'll cross our fingers and hope that we don't lose power. We did have a stream last year where we lost power when I was streaming during a thunderstorm, so hopefully all goes well here, and everybody in the local area here stays safe, and anybody that lives in Northwest Ohio does as well. You also have to bear with me because my allergies have been kicking my rear end today. I couldn't find my medication this morning. I still can't find it. I don't know what I did with it, and I know it wasn't empty. I know I still had like half a container of pills left, so I don't know where I put it. It's probably like in my room somewhere. I don't know. Whatever the case was, I did not have it, and I went out to the golf course this morning. It was fine when I woke up, but when I played golf at like 10 a.m. this morning, it was brutal. It was hit me pretty hard. Probably the hardest I think it's hit me on a non-work day, because at my warehouse it gets kind of dusty in there and the allergies flare up. But anyway, I'm here and we are getting ready for this one. We do have some predictions as usual to get through for today's race, both for fantasy / betting advice. I'd also like to give a consensus, get a consensus from the chat as for what you think that I should do. I have been thinking about starting a Patreon account. I didn't want to do it at the start of this season, but I wanted to see how things go, and based off of it, and I wanted to do a Patreon account, which kind of helps in a way give back to you guys. I don't know how many of you are of age or are able to do some sort of sports betting, but if you were looking at maybe some NASCAR advice when it comes to that stuff, and that's where the Patreon account would come into play. I was thinking of just, basing whatever picks I have for the race weekend, try to rank them in order for what I think is most likely to happen to not likely to happen, because there's only so many picks with NASCAR versus other sports. Other sports you can bet on like almost anything. NASCAR, there's very few things you can bet on. Obviously you can bet on like top 10, top 5, top 3 or whatever for a specific driver's race win, based off the odds off there. But the head-to-head bets, there's usually only like 5 or 6 of them every week. And then there's like other stuff like, will a driver win like more than one stage in a race or something of that nature, and I wanted to kind of go based off of whatever's available and just kind of rank it throughout the course of the week. So let me know in the chat if you are interested in it, and maybe I'll get something like that situated throughout the course of the year. Give me 1 second. I had to go blow my nose. That was bothering me a little bit. I was trying to hold back a sneeze for the longest time. Hopefully I don't just blow up into the mic here randomly. But yeah, I am thinking about it, and I'll probably end up putting a poll in the community tab as well tomorrow, and base my consensus off of there. But before I start the poll, I'm kind of curious as to what you guys think. My predictions this year have been very good. I've been keeping track from the start of the season too, to see if maybe pulling a consensus would be great, because I don't want to like make these picks every week and then end up like losing because then you guys are losing, because I want it to be, if I'm winning, I want you guys to win along with me. So let me pull up my predictions for the season and where we're stating right now. I don't always pick race winner for the Xfinity or the Truck Series, and even if I do, very rarely I bet on it. I just feel like it's too risky. A lot more young drivers in the field. It's more unpredictable. There's usually a lot more cautions. We saw that with the Nashville Xfinity race yesterday. We see it with a lot of truck and Xfinity races throughout the season the last few years. And a lot of the reason we see that now versus way before is because there aren't as many Cup regulars running in a race. So you have a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds and a couple of veterans mixed in here and there that have been around for a little bit in both series that are still there, but definitely not enough of them to kind of keep the playing field, I guess, not necessarily even, but just to keep the amount of aggressiveness down, really. So it gets kind of chaotic and out of hand at times with that. So I'm going to stay away from those picks on the Patreon account if I start it up. And I would stick to Cup only. And I think a lot of people would probably appreciate that anyway, because a lot of people don't necessarily watch the Xfinity and the Truck Series every weekend like I do. So we have that going for ourselves there. I do not have the raw feed up because it's not available yet, because the race doesn't start for almost 50 minutes. I think the drop of the green flag is scheduled for 7:23 Eastern Standard Time today. So again, 7:23 is what we're looking at for the drop of the green flag for this one. Gonna shout out a couple people I see in the chat. Oh, not a couple, a lot of people I see in the chat. Thank you for everybody tuning in already. Terry Lewis, Robert Perkle, Mary Brigham, Billy Kramer, King Jeff, Chris Davis, EJ Summers, Kenneth Clark, Philip Moore, Joanne Cryer, Godzilla Legendary 2078, 004T, thanks for tuning in. Who else is in the chat? Two Dogs, thanks for tuning into the stream also. Linda Bollinger, thanks for tuning back in again tonight. My dad was in the chat earlier, so shout out to you too. Anthony Jones, thanks for tuning in. James Moore, welcome into the stream. I think that's everybody I saw both prior to the stream and right now. We do have the poll up for you guys to pick who you think will win today's race. That'll close at the end of stage 2 as usual. And I left the pin up there that in case I lose power, you guys will know why the stream may cut out at any given second. Most of the storms are really supposed to pass through before the start of the race. They're mainly just kind of going on right now, so I guess if we were to lose power, it'd be before the race starts, more likely. Live 2 hours away from Toledo, south of Cleveland. Oh, okay, there you go. I knew you were from Ohio. I remember you saying that a long time ago. Sit for Brains, thanks for tuning in. Patrick Shadley, thanks for tuning in as well. Will the Nashville weather hold? It looks like it. I looked at the radar before the start of the race, and there's like nothing there. So if it's like overcast skies for anybody at the track, I know there's a couple people in the chat that said that they were there or they live in the area. So I think that everything should be good to go there. They're expected to have rain later tonight around 10-ish. They will at least get past halfway. We're going to get a race in tonight, regardless of the fact. Will they get the full 400 miles in? We'll have to wait and see. That could add definitely a sense of urgency for these drivers to get going here in the early going of the race, try to better their track position, so that way if we do get rain in like the final 100 laps or so, that could be interesting as far as how it shakes up the running order and maybe moves the finish of the race up a little bit. Kyle Lance, Sherry Hicks also welcome into the stream. Yeah, we got a tornado watch here too. That's why I'm keeping a close eye on the weather. I have NBC on my phone right now, so like if something does severely pop up in my area, I'm not even going to be able to watch the pre-race because that's going to be covering everything up. So hopefully the race doesn't get interrupted by that for the sake of the commentary purposes of this, because I want to know obviously what's going on throughout, but I understand why they would have to do that. I've had the chat on the whole time on the screen, I know. Sorry for that. We'll get into talking NASCAR here as we have more people in the chat finally. Oh, man, where do we want to start? Let's start off with the predictions first, and then we'll talk about the point standings and maybe drivers individually that I don't cover in my predictions. So, basing the predictions off of how I've done this year, this is another reason why I wanted to start the Patreon account. The must-have picks that I guarantee top 10s for this year, 33-19 is my record. For the sleeper picks, so those are usually my basis for sleeper picks is anybody with less than 5 career wins in the NASCAR Cup Series. Basically, any one of those drivers could be considered sleepers. So, yes, Chastain kind of falls under that category sometimes. Like a driver like well, Christopher Bell's got 5 now, so he doesn't fall under it anymore. But and neither does William Byron. I'm trying to think of drivers that would. I mean, Reddick, Stenhouse, Bubba Wallace. I mean, mid-pack drivers usually. So predictions for those drivers to get top 10 is usually a lot harder. I'm 16-20, so barely below 500 on that. Usually for the odds makers, those are more than likely plus odds for a lot of those drivers that I pick. So the fact that I'm 16 to 20, they're pretty good. And the drivers I'm picking to not get top 10s that I think you should stay away from on a week-to-week basis, 17 to 13, so I'm above 50% win success rate there. So race win pick, I predicted 6 winners correct in the Cup Series through the first 16 races, so just over a third of the season correct up to this point as well. So another reason why I want to start it, I'm looking at the chat to see if anybody has commented on it. I don't think anybody really has, so I'm definitely going to plan on putting a poll up then. Not in the stream necessarily because we already have a poll up for the race win, but tomorrow in the community tab I'll have a poll for you guys. Somebody said allergies suck. They do suck. I've been dealing with them my whole life. They say some people like grow out of them as they get older. I sure as hell haven't. Like I have noticed like it hasn't been hitting me until like May, June-ish, where before like it used to hit me like March, April. It seems to hit me a lot later in the year now than what it does. It doesn't hit me early in the spring. I think a lot of the reasons because the temperature is so bipolar here that it's been relatively colder in April. Like this year, I think I like golfed like maybe like not even half the month. Like, and I try to golf any day it doesn't rain or that it's warm enough, but it's been like most of April it was in the 40s. Or if it was 60, it was raining. So yeah, it was pretty cold here. That's probably why my allergies didn't kick in until like a few weeks ago, really. We had a drought going on. Silent Owl Scribe, thanks for tuning in. Belinda Leverett, welcome into the stream also. Predicting Chase Elliott. I know that's your favorite driver, so that's a little bit biased, but that's okay. Seth Thomas, thanks for tuning into the stream also. I missed you in the chat earlier. Alrighty, we got 60 people watching. Prediction time. We've been talking about it. We've been hyping it up for like 13 minutes now. I haven't talked to Lick about who's my predictions for who will run well, who won't run well. We're going to start off with the drivers who I think you should stay away from in your fantasy lineups. Oh, shoot. Before I get into the predictions, one more thing. If you haven't joined the Fantasy League yet, definitely do so. That is free. Be sure to get into the Fantasy League if you haven't already. I'll show you how to do that right here on the NASCAR website. You can go on the mobile app as well. There's a quick link section at the top of the screen on NASCAR.com. Click it. Fantasy Live, right there is the first tab. If you haven't signed in yet, it'll ask you to sign in. All you need is your email, your created password, free to join again. Search for KRC League when you go to join a league under the league section. You might end up having to do it under your entries. Let me see here. It might be under your entries. It might be under league. It saves the league you're in from the year before, and we've had this league for a couple of years now. We started it 2021. So, or, yeah, think about that. Yeah, 2021 we started the league, so this is the third year of the league going on. That's the overall standings. Anyway, yeah, you go into your league. Again, it's free to join, so you definitely want to do so. I'll put it in the chat real quick what the name of the league is. It's KRC League, KRC in all caps, a space, and then capital L on League. So pretty basic there. KRC League, Higgins Racing Channel League. And that is the league you'll want to join. Chance to win 2 tickets to any NASCAR race if you're choosing the following season. If you win the league championship for both the playoffs and the regular season. And you can't win the regular season championship if you were to join now because we're already 16 races in. We have 10 races to go until the playoffs. But with that being said, you automatically qualify for the playoffs if you're just in the league when it starts. So you'll definitely want to be in the league so that way you get an idea of how it works on a week-to-week basis. You pick 5 drivers. You have a garage driver every week. You have until the end of Stage 2 each race to swap them out. You don't have to use the same drivers every week. In fact, you can't use the same driver more than 10 times throughout the course of the year. As you see the drivers I have in my lineup this year, I've used Byron 6 times already, so I only have 4 more usages for him. Same for Chastain. Hamlin, I only got 3 more usages left. Reddick, I got 3. Logano's got 5, and Truex has 5 left. So I should say Logano after today will have 4 left and then 5, unless I put them in the garage. And then you get bonus picks. There will be a head-to-head matchup. But most of these are based off the betting odds I've noticed the last couple weeks. I think all of these I saw on either FanDuel or BetMGM. So that's where they pulled the matchup features. And obviously you can see the odds with them, minus 130. So that goes to show that they did pull it from a betting site. But regardless of the fact, that is my team for the week. I'll spotlight some of these drivers. Some of them I won't because I don't think they're absolute must-haves. They're just drivers I feel semi-confident, and some of the other drivers I have are must-haves I can't really use because I've used them too many times this year. So that is why I don't necessarily have all my picks every single week. I try to, but some weeks I can't if I've used them too much. JJ Wright 22, thanks for tuning into the stream. Jamie Salyer, Union Pacific 4855, Trent Man Rail Fan, Marvin Davis, thanks for tuning in. We got a lot of people in here already. Greatly appreciated it, everybody. The pre-race is on USA Network, by the way. Somebody asked that earlier. USA Network is where you can watch the pre-race. At 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the telecast will move to NBC for the pre-race up until the drop of the green flag. If I keep stepping away from the camera abruptly, it's because I'm going to blow my nose, not into the camera. So, all right, camera or the mic. Prediction time. Sorry I keep you guys waiting on that. I'm usually not that bad with this. The don't have picks. 3 drivers who I picked to not finish in the top 10 at the end of the race today. Again, 17-13 is my record so far on the year. I try to pick typical favorites every week. So we're going to start off with a bold one. Kyle Busch. I don't think he's going to get a top 10. He's been very strong, especially in the intermediate tracks this season, but not strong at Nashville this weekend. And he hasn't been strong at Nashville the first 2 years there in the NASCAR Cup Series. Oddly enough, Toyota's been very good on the intermediate tracks the last couple of years, especially with the next-gen car, but Kyle Busch at Nashville last season did not run very well. Ended up finishing 11th, but ran pretty much outside the top 15 most of the day. Finished 21st in his first attempt at the track in 2021. And RCR as a whole has not finished in the top 10 with both Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick in the last 2 years. So, 8 car, the 3 car, the last 2 seasons, both with the next-gen car and even the Gen 6 back in 2021, have not finished in the top 10. I think Austin Dillon finished 12th in both races, and Tyler Reddick actually finished outside the top 15 in both races in the 8 car, which is, of course, the same car that Kyle Busch is driving. So basing those two, statements together, I went with not having Kyle Busch in the top 10. He's not my fantasy team this week. He didn't qualify too badly. He qualified 11th, but in practice on Friday night, he was not fast. 21st overall in practice. Most of his lap averages, 5, 10, 15, 20 lap averages, he was outside the top 15 or worse. So stay away from Kyle Busch in your fantasy lineup today, especially if you've used him a lot this season. This is not a racetrack you would want to use him on. I know he won the Xfinity race here a couple of years ago, but that has nothing to do with this. He struggles in the Cup cars at this racetrack for whatever reason. Daniel Suarez is the next driver I want you guys to stay away from, and the reason why I have Suarez in this week is because his teammate Ross Chastain is a driver I'm very high on for this weekend. Suarez had a decent car yesterday in qualifying. He did get inside the top 10. Practice the day before, though, not so much, so he didn't unload with great speed this weekend like the one team did. He was outside the top 15, and the 5, 10, and 15 lap averages, and he was outside the top 10 and 10 lap averages on speed in practice. Overall in practice, he was 16th and finished 15th at Nashville with the next-gen car last season, so this isn't a great racetrack for Daniel Suarez either. I know he did have a top 10 finish here in 2021 with Trackhouse Racing. He had a 10th place finish that year, but last year with the next-gen car, which is where we base most of our stat picking off of, I would stay away from Daniel Suarez based off of how he's done so far this weekend on track with practice Friday night. They had a full practice session, by the way, so it was a lot easier to gauge my predictions this week. Most weeks throughout the course of the season, they only have 20-minute practice sessions. They actually had a 50-minute practice session this week, so I think it was because they were coming off an off week. If I had to imagine why they had 50 minutes this week, it's a relatively newer track on the schedule as well. It's only the 3rd year we've gone there, so those 2 reasons, we had a longer practice session, and Daniel Suarez didn't look that fast. On top of it, he wrecked in qualifying. So yes, he qualified 10th yesterday, but in the second round, he actually spun in turns 3 and 4, backed it into the outside wall. I think he is in a backup car for today's race. If he's not in the backup car, I don't trust that car is completely fixed. So I would stay away from Daniel Suarez. It's too risky there. So stay away from Suarez. I'm fine if you take Ross Chastain. I think he's a good pick for today. He's on the pole for a reason. He qualified well. He was fast in practice. But stay away from Suarez. Stay away from Kyle Busch. And stay away from this guy who a lot of people might be high on for this weekend. And they were really hyping him during the Xfinity race because Colleague Racing in the Xfinity race yesterday ran very, very well. AJ Allmendinger got the win. At one point, all 3 cars were in the top 4. Chandler Smith ended up finishing 3rd. I think Hemrick still had a top 10. He finished like 7th or 8th if I remember correctly. Justin Haley qualified 3rd for the Cup race today, and I think AJ Allmendinger qualified 10th. So both colleague cars start today inside the top 10. I'm not very high on Haley, though. Justin Haley finished 28th in practice overall. Very slow. I don't know where the speed in qualifying came from. They must have made some massive adjustments overnight to at least help him with the short run. One thing I did notice is he was a lot faster in the short run in practice than the long run. In the 15 and 20 lap averages, he was outside the top 25. He was just inside the top 25 and 10 lap averages, so I think that's where some of that qualifying speed came from yesterday. Maybe had the tailwind at the right time when he was making his lap. So I would stay away from Justin Haley as well, even though he starts towards the front of the field. Track position's huge with the next-gen car, but if the racing is dictating how we've seen this weekend at Nashville, it is somewhat easier to pass here versus other tracks that we will see with the next-gen car. Short tracks, road courses, very difficult to pass. A track like Darlington, no matter the car, is difficult to pass. Gateway, kind of the same thing. But when you go to the more banked ovals, the progressive banking racetracks where you have multiple grooves like Nashville, it's a little easier to move around, find clean air. And if you're faster than the car, it's a lot easier to overtake them. So even though Haley qualified well, I wouldn't necessarily factor the good track position in here versus if we were at a track like next week at Chicago where it's going to be very difficult to pass. So not very high on Haley either. So again, just to recap, 3 drivers who I don't think will get top 10 finishes today, despite either starting there or maybe confident picks most weeks to get a top 10. Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, Justin Haley. Stay away from those guys. Don't put them in your fantasy lineup for those reasons. Don't bet on them to get a top 10 either. It'd be foolish. You'd be losing money. I would pretty much guarantee that at least 2 of those 3 aren't going to, and I feel pretty confident with Busch not getting it either. The sleeper picks for this weekend, potentially going to get a top 10 finish. They're probably plus odds on a lot of the betting sites. Not one of them that I have in here, but again, he's got less than 5 career wins, so that's where the sleepers get based off of. We'll start off with probably the most obvious one, which is Ross Chastain. He is on the pole for this race. Now, he hasn't been running quite as consistent the last few weeks leading up to the break, so the break is kind of what he needed. Those 3 weeks leading in, he didn't finish inside the top 10 in any one of those 3 races. Lost his points lead after the Coca-Cola 600 as well, which was the first race he didn't run very well. Pretty much ever since the All-Star break, he hasn't ran fast at all. But he was second overall he finished second in the 2021 race, finished 5th with Trackhouse last season at Nashville, so he's finished top 5 in both races. I believe he is the only driver to finish in the top 5 in both Nashville races. Chase Elliott finished 2nd the year before, but remember he got DQ'd, failed post-race inspection, so he ended up actually finishing last. So Chastain was the only driver to have a top 5 in both races. Qualified on the pole, already mentioned that. He was 3rd fastest overall in practice, and he did seem faster in the long run than the short run, which has not really been the key for Chevrolet. That's why Toyota's been so fast on the intermediate tracks, especially since Truex won at Dover. But Chastain was fastest in 15 and 20 lap averages in practice. He didn't make a run longer than 20 laps, so there were some drivers that ran 25 and 30 lap runs, but he did not. So it looked pretty good, though, after 10 laps. 15 laps, that was kind of like the cliff point for some of the other drivers. A lot of the Toyotas were kind of like that, and I think that's why a lot of the Toyotas qualified well again this weekend. Chastain qualified well, and obviously he couldn't qualify any better. He was on the pole, and he seems to have long run speed, so I think Chastain's going to be a competitor for the win tonight. Maybe gets his first of the year. He's a strong pick for your fantasy team. Another sleeper pick, Bubba Wallace. Qualified 6th. Remember that 23-11 team, very fast on intermediate tracks this season. Bubba's actually finished in the top 5 at 3.5 mile racetracks so far this season of the 3 we've ran. Top 5 in the 600, top 5 at Vegas, top 5 at Kansas. Now, he did not finish, or I should say, this Nashville race isn't necessarily 1.5 miles. It's about 1.33 miles. So slightly shorter, slightly slower speeds. It's almost like an overgrown short track. There will be potential shifting going on in the corners today, which road course racing is in Bubba Wallace's strong suit, so that might not fare well for him later in the run, but early in the run he seems to have the speed. Practice kind of dictated that too. He was 4th fastest in the 5-lap average, but then after the 10-lap averages, he kind of fell back in the top 10 to about 9th or 10th quickest. So I think, again, just like a few other Toyotas in the field, I think he's going to be strong in the short run and not as strong later in the run. Qualified 6th, so he's got a good starting spot. Again, good short run speed, 9th overall in practice as well. He finished 12th with Nashville last season. If I remember correctly, I think he had multiple penalties in that race and came back from multiple. I think he had a speeding penalty, and then they had a pit road penalty that sent him to the back of the field twice, still finished 12th. So had speed. That was kind of the case for 23-11 last year. His teammate, Kurt Busch, last year in the 45 for 23-11 racing, finished 2nd in this race. So I think Wallace is a pretty strong sleeper pick for today. Eric Jones, I think, is another potential good sleeper pick. Eric Jones finished 11th at Nashville last season with the next-gen car, and he looks very fast this weekend as well. He's 4th overall in practice. Now, he didn't qualify well. He had a little bit of a hiccup in his qualifying laps, so he starts 23rd. But in practice, not only he was 4th fastest overall, but he was in the top 10 in 5-lap average, so overall in the short runs, pretty good for Eric Jones. 14th fastest in the 10-lap average, and he didn't make any runs longer than 15 laps, so we don't know exactly what the long run speed is looking like for Eric Jones. He's probably the riskier of those 3 sleeper picks. I would probably, if you had to stay away from one of them and narrow it down to 2, I think Wallace and Chastain are strong picks. I don't know so much about Eric Jones. He hasn't had as strong of a season this year as what he did last year. Really, Legacy Motor Club, since making that rebrand, hasn't been that strong at all this year compared to last year. So it's definitely more risky, but if you were looking at maybe an outside chance at a top 10 for, you know, anybody with plus odds to do so, I think Eric Jones would probably be the guy. As for the must-have picks, these are 3 drivers you should absolutely have in your fantasy lineup. Fantasy lineups, no ifs, ands, or buts. Just a reminder, 33 and 19 on these must-have picks this season. My win pick is in one of these 3 as well. We're going to start off with the Chevy camp. We're going to start off with William Byron. If there is going to be an HMS Chevrolet to win today's race, I think it's going to be William Byron. Hendrick Motorsports has won the first 2 races for the Cup Series at Nashville with Larson in 2021, Chase Elliott last season. If they were to win it again this year, I think William Byron would be the driver. Byron has won on 2 intermediate tracks already this season. He won at Darlington, and he won on a 1.5 mile at Las Vegas earlier this year. Of the drivers who have won at intermediate tracks, Byron has won 2, Kyle Busch has won 2, and then Toyota as a whole has won 2, with Truex winning Dover, and then Denny Hamlin winning Kansas. So those are kind of the group of drivers that typically run well on this style of racetrack this season in particular. So William Byron is a driver, I think, that could go out there, potentially win the race. He was 5th fastest overall in practice in the 5, 10, 15, and 20 lap categories. He was actually top 3, 3rd fastest overall in the 15 and 20 lap runs on the longer runs. So similar to Ross Chastain this weekend, has long run speed based off of what practice was like on Friday night. They've had time to make some more adjustments, obviously, over the course of the weekend because it was on Friday. Usually practice is on Saturday most of the time this year, so they've had a couple days to work on it, and qualified in the top 5 as well. Finished 3rd at Nashville in 2021. He had a mechanical issue last year, which took him out of a good chance at a good finish. He was running top 10 most of the day, but he ended up actually finishing about 9 laps down. So not really going to base last year's finish off of it. If he didn't have a mechanical issue, he probably would have been up there. Yeah, but this year looking very fast. Obviously, he's got 3 wins on the season, most winningest driver on the year. Both him and Kyle Busch at least tied for the most wins. And again, I already mentioned that Kyle Busch is not a strong pick this weekend because he doesn't look particularly fast here. And RCR as a whole last year, it didn't matter whether it was the 8 or the 3. They weren't fast at Nashville either. So that's why I said stay away from Busch, even though he's had success on intermediates. Byron not only has the success on the intermediates, but he's looking fast this weekend again as well. So Byron's a good pick and maybe an outside chance to win today's race. Martin Truex Jr. is a strong pick. He's probably the hottest driver in NASCAR right now. He is the points leader after he just won the most recent race at Sonoma before the 1 week off break. He was 2nd overall in practice Friday nights, qualified 6th yesterday morning. In his lap averages, he's a little slower on the long run. Again, that's kind of the Toyota's weak point, I think, this weekend. Not as strong as some of the Chevys on the long run, but the short run, he is very quick. That's why he qualified well. He was 3rd for 10-lap average overall. Fastest 5-lap average as well. So if you're looking for somebody to take off on the restarts, I think Truex is probably going to be the guy. And then 15, 20 lap averages. Again, he was 5th fastest. He did win on the only other concrete oval this year. I don't know how well that's going to translate, but him winning at Dover, remember Bristol's spring race was on dirt, so that wasn't a concrete race. Martinsville has concrete corners, I guess. Larson won that, but I wouldn't necessarily consider that like a full concrete racetrack. So Truex has that going for him as well. I think he's a strong pick to potentially win today's race. Vegas has him as the favorite to win today's race, both on FanDuel and BetMGM. Plus 550 and plus 500 were the odds I saw for that. Doesn't surprise me that he's the favorite. I think he could contend for a win again today. Will he do so? I'm not going to predict him to win the race, but I will predict another Toyota driver to win a race, and that man is Tyler Reddick. I picked him to win at Sonoma last week. He ran top 10 most of the day, but he wasn't as strong as Truex or Hamlin from the speed department as far as the Toyotas go, but he did run top 10 most of the day until he ended up getting spun on a late restart. And then I think he ended up pulling into the garage because he had a toe link break on the race car as well from that spin. So unfortunately, Reddick did not get a good finish, even though he had a fast race car. And I did predict him to win on a road course at Coda. This is the first time I've taken him to win on an oval this year. He was fastest overall in practice Friday night, qualified second. And I mentioned already that Kurt Busch finished second in the 45 car in this race last season. So I think that can fare well for him. Reddick finished 16th. Last season's race here in the 8 car with RCR, but I think that Toyota overall is just better on the intermediate tracks than the Chevrolets over the course of the between last season and then pretty much this year as well. Outside of William Byron, nobody else, William Byron and Kyle Busch, nobody else outside of Toyotas have really dominated an intermediate race so far this season. So I feel really high on Tyler Reddick again for this week. Denny Hamlin qualified a little too far back for me to want to pick him like I picked him to win at Kansas. And Martin Truex Jr. Hasn't won on a track that is, okay, technically won on a track bigger than a mile at Sonoma, but that was a road course. As far as the points races, or as far as the oval races go, he won on a short track at the LA Coliseum, and then he won on a relatively short track at Dover. It's considered an intermediate, but it races like one because it's only 1 mile in length, so it's kind of an overgrown Bristol, if you would. But yeah, I would lean towards Reddick. As far as winning the race today, I think he was plus 750, so that is my pick there. That's all the predictions for the start of today's race. So just again, a recap. I have Tyler Reddick winning today's race. He's one of the must-haves along with William Byron and Martin Truex Jr. for me to predict for top 10 finishes. Sleeper picks, I've got Ross Chastain, Bubba Wallace, Eric Jones. And then the don't-have picks that I predict not to finish in the top 10 today will be Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, and Justin Haley. So that is all the predictions for this one. Keegan, turn up the volume, a little hard hearing, thanks. I can't really turn the volume up. The volume's up all the way on my end. Somebody else, let me know in the chat if I'm quiet for everybody else. I'm actually talking a little bit louder than I usually am since I moved to this apartment. AJ failed inspection today. Oh, well, so I guess he's starting at the back. Yeah, like I mentioned, colleague racing, not as high on him. Messing about Justin Haley, but Jojo, thanks for tuning into the stream. Wade Solinsky, thanks for tuning in as well. Got about 100 people in the chat already. That's amazing. The race has not started yet. Jeremy Bowman, thanks for tuning in. Dark Crypto, thanks for watching. Frank Powers, welcome into the stream. Brett Whitesides, welcome back. And hopefully you guys... NASCAR moved the start time up to 7:05. They did? Are they racing right now? I didn't know they did. Hang on, hang on. Is the race actually going on right now? I have zero clue. I'm good. Sarah Isaac, thanks for watching also. Are they racing? I'm going to be so upset if they're racing right now. They do have the cars on track. Oh my goodness. Thank you for letting me know that in the chat. Yeah, we're about to get into this one. Give me 1 second to get my laptop on a charger. I'll be right back. Yeah, thank you for letting me know on that. I had no clue they moved the start time up to 7:05. Yeah, they have cars on the track right now. We're going to be going green any second. It looks like the lights are actually out on the pace car as well, so they'll be going green this time by. I got to get the raw feed up. Good thing it's available. 300 laps. Scheduled distance for this one, 400 miles. I don't have time to get through the whole starting lineup either. I apologize. Yeah, they're going green this time. There's no way I'm going to be able to get through the starting lineup. Ross Chastain and Tyler Reddick are on the front row. Justin Haley, Joey Logano are there too. Yeah, the original start time is 7:23. We haven't even gone through the point standings yet. It looks like most of the storms are cleared out here, so that's good. We will be A-OK on power here for the night, it appears. And an early start to this NASCAR Cup Series race is about to begin. Pace car working its way off of turn 4, heading to pit road. And night racing at Nashville going to begin. It'll start in the day, end in the night at least, but we're going to get this thing underway. Ross Chastain on the inside lane, which has been the preferred lane all weekend long. Green flag is in the air. We are underway in the Ally 400. Shot on the bottom from Chastain, from behind from Justin Haley, who was on the inside of row 2, door-to-door for the race lead into turns 1 and 2 for the 1 in the 45. And Chastain will clear high off the exit of the corner. Ross Chastain to the lead on the backstretch. Most of the field single file inside the top 6 or 7, double wide behind them. Logano trying to get to the outside of Justin Haley in turns 3 and 4. Haley got a bit loose on the bottom lane, and that slight bobble allowed for Logano to take him over for that third place position in the early going. Logano, though, was not able to clear off the exit of turn 4, and Haley hit a second wind, and he's got an advantage down on the bottom again into turns 1 and 2. Logano going to hold him tight, trying to make sure Haley doesn't win the race back to the throttle. And off the exit of the corner, it looks like they're still side-by-side for third. Now Logano will throw a block halfway down the backstretch to clear for that third place position finally. Ross Chastain led the first lap of the race. Haley moving way up to try to block William Byron in the 24 car, who nearly took him 3 wide in the center of 3 and 4. Truex is clear to the bottom of the 31 car, and Haley quickly dropping back in the early going. Getting passed by the 22 and the 19, and now the 24, 23, and 11 are right there behind him, looking to move Haley even further back in the running order. Joshua Brady, welcome into the stream also. And a reminder to like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. If you guys have not already, appreciate everybody that has tuned in throughout the course of the race weekend thus far. One of our most viewed Xfinity races was on the channel last night. If you could call it a race, it was more of a crash fest throughout. They had a little bit of racing in that final stage, though. Final stage was mostly clean until the end when they had a couple overtimes, but saw a good 3-car battle for the race win most of that final stage between the two colleague Chevrolets of A.J. Allmendinger, Chandler Smith, and then also in contention most of the day was not Sam Mayer. Who was it? Cole Custer. Mayer was a little bit behind him on speed. He was probably the fastest Chevy, though, outside of the colleague cars. Bubba Wallace on the inside lane. Hamlin had a good run on him down the backstretch to get to the outside of the 23 cars. He's going to try to take over 7th. Side by side still are those two Toyotas, with Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch just behind him for position. Chastain not really pulling away from Reddick here in the early going, but the top 2 pulling away from Logano on back. Logano's a 1.5 seconds off the lead, but Reddick only 0.3 of a second behind the 1. Wallace powers down in the middle of 3 and 4. He'll clear high on Hamlin off the exit of the corner. Hamlin slingshots from the top to the bottom to get underneath of Wallace, and he'll try to pass him on the inside into 1 and 2. And they'll be door-to-door again. Good battle for position going on between the 11 and the 23. Clean, respectable racing at that. You would probably expect when you're racing your team owner. Wallace going to run a wider line this time, and that may help him down the straightaways, but it did also help Hamlin clear from the bottom lane. Speaking of the bottom lane, Ross Chastain is running there right now, glued to the yellow line through turns 1 and 2. Tyler Reddick trying to use the outside, of course, dirt track racer. No surprise that he's one of the first ones up to the top lane. He moves down to the bottom, though, changing his lane into 3 and 4. Chastain looked to maybe take the top away as he went high. And Reddick overall just looks a little bit quicker than the 1 car right now, but we'll see over the course of the long run if Chastain maybe is going to be able to get away. Chastain did have the quickest 15 and 20 lap averages in practice yesterday. We mentioned that in the pre-race, and Reddick was faster on the short runs. Chastain was able to gap the 45 car just a little bit there. Turns 1 and 2. Reddick was within about a car length and a half behind Chastain the last lap, and now that lead has been opened up to about 4 or 5 car lengths all of a sudden, and Reddick's going to have to try to run him back down again. Logano's now falling 2.8 seconds off the lead and, in fact, loses third-place position to Martin Truex Jr. So Truex up to P3 in a hurry, already 3 spots gained from the start of the race for him. And Justin Haley back to 6th. William Byron was able to pass him for 5th place moments ago. Currently on lap 10. Make that lap 11 at the start-finish line now, out of 300. So just getting this one underway. 90 laps in the first stage. So they will all have to hit pit road at some point in this first stage. Cannot make it on fuel to the end. We'll probably end up seeing most of the field pit around the halfway mark, as we usually do during the stage racing era. And now William Byron going to get by Joey Logano on the outside lane, so Logano dropping back. 22 car has struggled on the intermediate tracks this season. They've been right around 20th on speed at the start of the race, and then by the end they get into the top 10. Today they qualified in 4th, although practice overall on Friday they were outside the top 20 again. So it was a big jump for Logano up the leaderboard to get this strong starting spot, something he has lacked for most of the year. But in the top 5 here in the early going, he's been passed by a couple of cars, but looking to hang on at least and hopefully have a solid day, get more stage points, because he has been hovering it outside the top 10 in points really for most of the season. Ross Chastain going to lead another lap. He's led them all so far through the first 13. Tyler Reddick has narrowed the gap back down again. Mentioned a little bit ago, it was about 5/10, or not 5/10 of a second, but 5 car lengths of a difference roughly between the two cars, about 3/10 of a second. And now the lead has been closed back down to a couple car lengths once again by Reddick. Now Reddick was going to the bottom lane through 3 and 4 in the top in 1 and 2. This last lap he ran the top lane on both ends of the racetrack, which is going to carry a lot more straightaway speed down the longer front stretch this time for Reddick. Most drivers in the truck and the Xfinity races this weekend were kind of struggling on the outside through 3 and 4. It almost looks like there's more bumps on that end of the track than in turns 1 and 2. A lot smoother in 1 and 2, so maybe seeing a slightly wider line there. These cars stand a lot more glued to the racetrack than what we saw in the Xfinity race yesterday. Likely slightly more grip with potential shifting going on, as well as the wider tires on these Cup cars versus the Xfinity cars. Similar lack of downforce though, and just slightly more horsepower for the Cup. Full screen commercial break for the first time today, lap 15. We'll go through the full field running order now, means we didn't get through that before the start of the race, means they moved the start time up about 20 minutes. Ross Chastain is your race leader by 0.2 of a second at the start-finish line that last time by over Tyler Reddick, who's in P2. Martin Truex Jr. is in 3rd, 3 seconds off the lead. William Byron in 4th. Joey Logano is in 5th. Denny Hamlin in 6th. Justin Haley 7th. Chase Elliott 8th. Bubba Wallace 9th. Kyle Busch is 10th. Chris Buescher in 11th. Ryan Blaney 12th. Kyle Larson 13th. Alex Bowman 14th. Ty Gibbs 15th. AJ Allmendinger in 16th. Kevin Harvick in 17th. 18th is Brad Keselowski. Christopher Bell 19th. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is 20th. Eric Jones in 21st. Eric Almirola 22nd. Austin Dillon 23rd. Ryan Preece 24th. Michael McDowell actually just passed Chase Briscoe for 24th. Briscoe now in 25th. Austin Cindric in 26th. Noah Gragson 27th. Corey LaJoie 28th. Daniel Suarez 29th. And Ty Gillen is 30th rather. Harrison Burton 31st. Ty Dillon 32nd. J.J. Yeley 33rd. 34th place is Brendan Poole, Josh Bilicki in 35th, and Kyle Busch having an issue. He is in last now all of a sudden. So Busch was in 10th. Something has gone wrong with that 8 car, and he has made an unscheduled pit stop during the commercial break, so more development there when they come back from the break. But Kyle Busch having a problem here, and he is on pit road during the full screen commercial break for NBC. Big E, thanks for tuning into the stream. Joe C, welcome as well. Dale, welcome back in for another one. Daniel Powers. Vintage Chick, thanks for tuning in. Will we get NBC cranking up? NBC usually doesn't do the cranking ups. They do like a through the field like update where they'll go through like the top 20 drivers, give like updates on how their cars are handling. And they usually do that because they have more pit reporters at the track. I remember back in the day when Fox used to have like 4 pit reporters every single race. NBC still does that, but Fox only has like 2 during every race now. It's Regan Smith and Jamie Little, or it's Regan Smith and Josh Sims, or Jamie Little, Josh Sims. They basically just kind of rotate the 3 of them, and they only have 2 at the track all the time. I think for the Daytona 500 they had 3, and maybe the 600 they had 3, but the other races they only had 2. So you don't get as many like mid-race reports on specific drivers because they don't have as many pit crew people. Remember, they had Vince Welch on the team, but then they ended up letting go of his contract last season. So not only he wasn't commentating trucks, but he wasn't on pit road this year either. They didn't replace him. Josh Sims was on the team last year, but they didn't replace Vince Welch. They just completely got rid of a job, basically, and didn't cover for it. Here's the update on Busch.
So he called right front. He came to pit road. They said, "Are you sure it's just the right front?" He said, "Well, I don't know. You can change all 4 if you want." So that's what they decided to do on the 8 car. 4 had been changed, and it was indeed the right rear. It only had 9 pounds of air in it. Steve, that is not enough.
No, not enough, but you could look at it either as a bad brake, flat tire, or great brake. That he was able to come to pit road, get it changed out, back on the racetrack. If you got to have an issue, have it early. Only 21 laps in the race. You see right there the pink paint pen or blue circling the cut. Just unfortunate, right? I mean, those are the things in racing that drive you crazy, right? I don't know how to explain that.
So a cut right front tire, it sounds like, for Kyle Busch is what led him to pit road just 15 laps into the race. As a result, he is 1 lap down after a 4-tire change. He was initially in 10th place, now is running last. But very early, as Steve Letarte just mentioned on the broadcast, we're only 15 laps at the time of him pitting out of a 300-lap race, so he's got plenty of time to try to get back up there, but hasn't had the fastest car this weekend. He is taking slight advantage on those 4 fresh tires. Even though he only had about 15 laps on his tires, we have already seen about 0.6 of a second of fall off from race leader Ross Chastain, whose fastest lap was a 30.373. That last lap he ran a 30.978, and the only 2 drivers to run lap times below a 31-second lap was Chastain and Reddick. Everybody else was above 31 seconds, so we are seeing some fall off. We saw quite a bit of fall off in the Xfinity race yesterday as well. We're seeing that early in this Cup race, which should create more passing opportunities the later and later we get in the run. Speaking of which, again, Chastain has been faster in the long runs this weekend compared to Reddick, but on the long run, for the first run of the race, Tyler Reddick is still staying close to Ross Chastain. He hasn't been close enough to try to get alongside and pass him yet, but he's back to within a couple car lengths again, trying the clean air down on the bottom, closes the gap. He's all over the back of Chastain now in the front stretch at lap 25, and we've got a little battle for the lead maybe going on here before long if Reddick tries to push the issue in the early going. Reddick back to the middle groove. Chastain a wider entry into the corner, but then ended up back down on the bottom, just enough to allow a little bit of dirty air on the nose of the 45 car getting into the corner, which kind of helped Reddick shove up the racetrack a little bit. And as a result, he lost some ground. Chastain up the hill now in turns 3 and 4 rather, and Reddick going to get that ground back. Chris Buescher has broken into the top 10 after Kyle Busch had to pit, and now he's quickly running down Bubba Wallace for 9th place. Trying to get by the 23 car on the outside lane. Wallace looking a little tight off the exit of turn 4 that time. He's going to try to block Buescher, who goes to the apron to try to get underneath the 23 car now on the front stretch. Buescher to the inside of the racetrack into turns 1 and 2. He's going to slide up, and he is going to be clear as Wallace will lift and let him in. So, clean racing there. Wallace going to let the 17 car go by after he got the positioning, and Chris Buescher is now up to 9th place and on the move. One of the only couple Fords inside the top 10 right now. In fact, the only other top 10 Ford is Logano in 6th, who started 4th. Buescher started outside the top 10, and he's made up a few positions here in the early going. Ryan Blaney has also caught Wallace down. He's trying to be the 3rd Ford in the top 10 if he can get up there. Got a nice little run off the exit of turn 2 on Wallace after running the top. Wallace staying on the bottom. I think it's because his car's too tight maybe to run the top. Nice Pennzoil scheme on Blaney's car this weekend. That's one of my favorite schemes whenever he brings that Pennzoil scheme. It's different from Logano's Pennzoil shell paint scheme every week. It just looks more like vintage. More of a classic look to it. I think that's why I like it so much. Logano's ran a similar scheme like that a couple times this year. I wish he would run it every week because I think it looks better. Oh, Blaney in the wall off turn 2 after Bubba Wallace squeezed him. I don't think he was expecting the 23 to shut the door that quick. Blaney will go out and just pass him in turns 3 and 4. I think Wallace might have let him go after he squeezed him into the wall. the lap before. Blaney is now inside the top 10. Hopefully he doesn't have too much damage on the right side of the race car. Didn't look like too hard of a hit, and the fact that he was able to pass the 23 as quickly as he did would probably tell me that all tires are still up. Doesn't look like there's any smoke causing any sort of a tire rub, and Ryan Blaney will continue on. Showing a replay. Yeah, had a run, just scraped the wall very lightly. Still able to keep enough momentum up to obviously pass walls to the next corner as mentioned. Definitely didn't give him a lot of room, though.
Well, there you go.
So is he saying that Bubba ran him into the fence?
So I guess he thought he was going to have more space on the outside of Bubba when Bubba came up, whether the space or the air or the vision or the combination of the three got him all the way into the fence. But we're going to monitor that brake situation. To close out that story, normally shake is something on the pads, but what we thought happened in St. Louis is that these rotors actually have a little bit of float, and when that freezes up, they grow, they make contact with other parts of the brakes, and they can explode. So we'll have to see if this 12-car brake issue is just a annoyance or a true concern.
And again, Blaney currently running in the 10th spot.
Ross Chastain slowly pulling away from Tyler Reddick finally. It's about an 8/10 of a second lead. Once Truex got by Logano for third in the early going, he hasn't been able to run laps quicker than Reddick or Chastain to this point. He was actually about 3 seconds off the lead. Now he's 3.6 to 3.7 seconds back, so he's lost just a bit of time as well to Chastain at the front of the field. Well, there you have it. You can't really hear much of Dale Jr. and Jeff Burton on the race broadcast, so that's kind of a problem when you have them down in the infield during these long green flag runs, which we have not had a caution so far in the early going of this one. There are a couple cars that are a lap down already with this having a long green flag run, so Kyle Busch is going to have his work cut out for him. He's going to have to get back into the free pass position at some point here, either before the end of the first stage or a caution, whatever comes first. We'll go through a full field rundown once again of the running order. Lap 34, Ross Chastain is your race leader still. Reddick has trimmed that gap back down to about 0.4 of a second. Again, he was about 0.9 of a second back just a couple laps ago. Martin Truex Jr. also a little faster the last couple laps, is 3 seconds off the lead in third. William Byron's in fourth place, Denny Hamlin in fifth, Justin Haley sixth, Chase Elliott seventh, Joey Logano 8th, Chris Buescher 9th, and Ryan Blaney rounds out the top 10. Alex Bowman in 11th, Kyle Larson 12th, AJ Allmendinger 13th, Christopher Bell 14th, Bubba Wallace in 15th. 16th is Ty Gibbs, Kevin Harvick in 17th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 18th, Eric Jones 19th, and Eric Almirola in 20th. Brad Keselowski in 21st, Austin Dillon 22nd, Daniel Suarez 23rd, Michael McDowell 24th, Corey LaJoie 25th, Noah Gragson 26th, 27th, Ryan Preece, Austin Cindric 28th, Harrison Burton 29th, and Ty Dillon 30th. J.J. Alien 31st, Brendan Poole 32nd, 33rd, Chase Briscoe, Josh Malecki 34th, Ty Gillen 35th, and Kyle Busch still in last after the unscheduled stop at lap 15. So again, caution free through 36 laps. We'll take our first ad break of the race. You're listening live to the Ally 400 at Nashville Superspeedway for the NASCAR Cup Series on KRC. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We'll continue our flag-to-flag coverage in a matter of moments. It was a good time for me to get up and blow my nose. For those of you that weren't listening to our pre-race coverage, allergies hit me hard today. Alrighty. Mark Witkowski, thanks for tuning in. I don't know if I shouted you out at all yet. Ethan Chua, thanks for tuning in. Natalie Decker races the Cup Series. Probably not, no. Billy or Billy Double M, thanks for tuning in. However you want me to pronounce that. Weather Expert Gaming, thanks for tuning in as well. No buffering on my end. Patty and Rumdy Creations, thanks for tuning in as well. Yeah, the microwave was running a little bit ago. My sister was just getting off of work, putting something in there. Hopefully I'm staying cooler than here. I think it got up to like 86 today when I was out on the golf course. But it wasn't bad, though. It was kind of overcast and windy. It didn't feel like 86. Not very humid up here. Let you listen to some of the race broadcasts here at Stage 1.
This is Carl Edwards, and he's here this weekend as the inaugural member of the Walk of Fame here at the Concrete Mile and a Third. That's because you won your 6 times overall. It's pretty good. It's not easy here, is it?
No, it's not easy at all. Coming in, my wife said, "You must love this place." It's like, man, I've had some real crises in the driver's seat here. It's hard to get a grip on this racetrack. It's so edgy. And when you watch these guys, I mean, they're working hard. Their crew chiefs are going to work hard. It's a really tough place.
Not the first time we've seen you back at a racetrack. Are you plotting anything, Carl?
No, I'm not. I'm having a lot of fun. Getting to do a lot of neat things, but it really is an honor to be here. It's cool to see everybody. NASCAR did a lot of great things for me, and it's fun to be here.
And you made your way around the garage. I understand you had a conversation with the pole sitter and race leader, Chastain.
So I hear all these rumors, like Ross Chastain's confidence is low. I talked to him. He's got a hop in his step. I think he's going to be tough to beat today.
We're glad you're back. Come back anytime, and welcome to the Walk of Fame here at Nashville.
That's cool. Thank you so much.
Carl Edwards, Rick, always good to see him.
Always great to have Carl Edwards. We mentioned the successes of Carl Edwards and what he's been able to do behind the wheel. Everyone on their feet here wanting to see that. The flip from Carl Edwards, winning in Nashville.
And he gets that Gibson guitar. He's going to play us a tune.
That's fun, and what a race, man. That was just really good racing.
Awesome job, guys. All weekend.
And Carl is not going to disappoint. He is already into the stands, heading for the fans. There he goes.
And here is Martin Truex Jr. making the first green flag stop of the day. The crew already to the left side. 4 tires Sunoco fuel for Martin Truex Jr. Said he could not get off 1 and 2 the way he wanted to. Just slight air pressure adjustment for him. As we look at the 5-car, Kyle Larson said it was very bad on throttle. Needed a slight adjustment there. Kyle Larson down and away, Dave.
And you see Denny Hamlin now leaving pit row. He described his car as a little bit edgy, but he's been going the right direction. The 11's fast. Marty.
You see leader Ross Chastain coming down pit road, has led 42 laps to this point, so the car just got a little too free the further he ran. So all these teams, in essence, sort of splitting this first stage, which is 90 laps, in half. Also, Ryan Blaney on pit road. He, too, saying his car getting too free. And a lot of crew chiefs and spotters, they feel like that the track has really changed here. And also the 45 of Tyler Reddick on pit road as well. He is, well, free. So, Steve, certainly the track changing. Teams deciding to split this first stage in half.
Yeah, I mean, the track's going to continue to change. That's the interesting thing about the start time of this race. Last year it was a delay, a weather delay that got us later into the evening. This is a scheduled plan of later starters. Now we see William Byron gives up the lead coming to his pit stall.
Going 1 lap further than everybody else. You see the chassis change to tighten up the 24 car as well. Byron was pretty quick out there. Also the 22 on pit road in front of you, Dave.
Paul Wolf Petrucci told me earlier today, I'd be hesitant to split it in half because the tire wear isn't that great this weekend. Well, he had to follow what everyone else was doing. Joey Logano on and off of pit road, as is Chase Elliott. He has been moving forward early in the race, going the right direction. They'll come down here for 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel.
Last year's winner, Chase Elliott. And we hear a lot of teams saying we've got to make some changes, some chassis adjustments. Jim.
And here is the 6 of Brad Keselowski chassis adjustment there. 4 tires Sunoco fuel. They felt confident about their long run. Needed help on the short end.
The 34 of Michael McDowell, a lonely roll down pit road at pit road speed because of this, a commitment line violation. You see the yellow line, the orange box right there. He just crossed over. You cannot touch that box. 4 tires below it. So an issue coming to pit road. For that reason, he had a pass-through penalty.
Here comes Alex Bowman. Marty.
Alex Bowman running a little bit farther here. Blake Harris, his crew chief, making that call. He'll come in for 4 fresh Goodyear tires like everybody else. A little too free for him. Now Daniel Suarez started at the very back of the field in a backup car today. He was so quick coming through the field. So, Steve, if you're Travis Mack, do you leave him out? I guess the answer is no. You come to pit road right now, but Suarez has an awfully quick car. Even though it's a backup car, he was very fast, wrecked in qualifying. This backup car has the same speed as that primary had earlier in the weekend.
And that's very impressive. I mean, with the limited amount of practice, the teams just don't put as much effort into the backup cars as they used to. Congratulations to Trackhouse to take the opposite approach, have this backup car giving Daniel Suarez in their hometown of Nashville a chance. A little bit long in the box, though, Marty.
A little bit long in the box, but a nice stop nonetheless, and they'll put 4 fresh Goodyear tires on here. Suarez, unlike a lot of the other drivers, saying this car was pretty good on that run. Didn't request any big changes. Back out on the racetrack.
Tootsie's a very famous establishment here on Broadway in Nashville. Sponsor of the 99 as Chastain now chasing after Ty Dillon, who hasn't come to pit road yet.
And I think this call for Ty Dillon is an interesting one. You know, if you're in the back third of the field, you're almost starting to race for laps. It's been a little bit of a rough year at Spire Motorsports for the 77 at Ty Dillon. Full-time driver for the first time in this car number for the organization. They had some engine issues early, some bad luck, some loose wheels. I think they're trying to get something to go their way. Maybe they'll get a fortunate caution here, try to stay on the lead lap. In stage 1, continue to work on the car.
Green flag pit stops have cycled through with the exception of Ty Dillon. Haley to the outside of the 17 of Buescher. Haley again with a career best start, trying to hold on to that track position. We'll be back with more from Nashville.
Alrighty, so they are headed to commercial break once again. Following the green flag pit stops, only Ty Dillon still has to hit pit road. We are at lap 50, still caution-free in this one. So Dillon leads for right now, but after that, Ross Chastain will take the lead for right now. He is in second. Tyler Reddick is make that Ty Dillon on pit road as we speak. So Ty Dillon just now on pit road. Ross Chastain is your race leader. 0.3 of a second is the difference between him and Tyler Reddick. William Byron is in third place right now. Martin Truex Jr. fourth. Denny Hamlin is fifth. Kyle Busch in 6th place, but he still hasn't hit pit road the second time yet. Chase Elliott in 7th. Ty Dillon in 8th place right now, but he is on pit road currently. Joey Logano in 9th, and Kyle Larson is 10th. Chris Buescher in 11th. Justin Haley 12th. Ryan Blaney 13th. Christopher Bell in 14th. AJ Allmendinger now up to 14th as Dillon is cycled back. Alex Bowman in 15th place. Ty Gibbs 16th. Bubba Wallace 17th. Kevin Harvick 18th. Ty Dillon 19th. Eric Jones in 20th. Eric Almirola 21st. 22nd is Austin Dillon. Brad Keselowski 23rd. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 24th. Daniel Suarez 25th. 26th is Corey LaJoie. Noah Gragson in 27th is the last car in the lead lap. Ryan Preece is in 28th, first a lap down. Austin Cindric in 29th. Harrison Burton 30th. J.J. Yeley 31st. Chase Briscoe 32nd. Brendan Poole 33rd. 34th place is Josh Bilicki. Todd Gillen 35th in the 38 car this weekend again. And then Michael McDowell 36 after having that commitment line violation when he was trying to make his way to pit road moments ago. Thanks for everybody tuning in here today. Be sure to like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you haven't already. I had a bit of a wardrobe change. I had to get my Ryan Blaney shirt on. What was I doing? Not wearing my Blaney shirt during the race. I didn't change from when I golfed earlier, so that was part of the problem there. BAL, thanks for tuning in to the stream. JR64, thanks as well. See if we have Danny Haley, thanks for tuning in as well. Sharita Cooper, she's pulling for Kyle Busch. Kelly O'Neill, thanks for tuning into the stream also this weekend. Alrighty. Evan Stevens, thanks. Coming back as well. Just saw you pop in the chat, one of the mods. 75 likes on the stream. Our goal is 150 for the stream here today. The Ally 400. If you haven't liked or subscribed yet, be sure to do both. We're on the road to 5,000 subscribers on the channel.
Challenge. It's Tuesday on NBC and streaming on Peacock. Great aerial views and aerial coverage brought to you by Pods. If you're moving this summer, save up to 30% at pods.com today. Thankful that the sun is shining. There was talk of the possibility of thunderstorms going through here in the late evening. And that sunshine welcome as Ross Chastain up front And a half a second lead now over Tyler Reddick. Guys, have you caught your breath? Thanks for coming back up to the booth with us.
It's good to be up here in air conditioning. It's hot down there, but it is fun to be down there. And excitement, the cars flying by. You kind of forget how fast they're going until they're standing right next to them. They are rolling down the front straight.
Such a big difference from yesterday with the Xfinity cars and the dual exhausts coming out the left and the right side for the Cup cars. Once they start wrapping around the entire racetrack, it's nearly impossible to drown out that noise, but it is fun. It is fun being down there, and that energy at the start of the race was exciting. And I'm impressed by this race car and how it competes at this racetrack. I'm impressed with Nashville Superspeedway. I did not think that this racetrack would race this well. The last 2 years has been incredible. And look here, look at this. This is the type of racing we're going to see all night long. 2, 3 wide even. AJ Allmendinger trying to work his way through the middle of this sandwich.
And a couple colleague racing drivers right there with Haley and Allmendinger, 31 and 16, chasing after the 12.
Yeah, Allmendinger, that big win yesterday in his Xfinity Series.
And look at this. The one struggling a little bit, trying to clear the lap car.
Noah Gragson right there racing him really hard, trying to stay on the lead lap. Gragson back after being out a couple weeks with a concussion. Missed Sonoma, took an off weekend to get a little better. But look, this is not allowing Reddick to close. Reddick is sort of in a position where the air's a little bit dirty. He's on old tires and slipping around a little bit. He's going to go way up the racetrack for some clean air to see if that can help him get this run off turn 2 down the back straightaway.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed is that all the cars are so similar in speed that it's hard to lap. You know, Noah Gregson's running 26, and it's not like Rouse Chastain can just fly up here and go blind by him. And to me, like, I think the 42 car of Gregson's doing a great job pinching him off, not letting the one car be where it really wants to be.
Gregson's not doing anything wrong. He's got to race hard. He's earned an opportunity to try to stay on the lead lap here, but it's going to create an opportunity. Look at Reddick. He gets to run. Noah backs out of that. Reddick on the inside.
Bumper. Yeah, here comes the 45. Tyler Reddick trying to take the lead away from Ross Chastain, and he'll do it.
Also, keep in mind, been a little activity between Ross and Noah on pit road earlier this year. A little physical altercation. Maybe there was something to that. Racing a little
I'm
bit
sure
harder,
there was. I'm sure that was the main reason why Noah was racing the 100.
29 laps to go in stage 1.
Well, now Noah's mission is to try to stay in this position, to be the first car 1 lap down in case a caution comes out. So that fight that Noah put up delays the 45 car or the 1 car, whichever happened to be leading, to catch the next leader. Look, you can't see the next lap car that would be the next lap car. So Noah did a nice job of slowing them down.
Can Ross mount a charge? Is there an opportunity to... Was he up there really running as hard as he possibly could?
You mentioned that altercation. These two not seeing eye to eye at Kansas earlier this year. Noah thought that Ross had taken him up into the wall.
Chastain's going to connect with a right. Noah had a good one coming back. It gets broke up before Noah could respond. I don't think they like each other.
It didn't look like Noah was giving Ross any room when he was trying to get by him.
No, he wasn't. And, you know, that's he can do that. I mean, the guy punched him in the face. So, he's lost a lap. He's going to try to figure out how to get that back later in the race.
I know everybody at home laughed. I laughed too. That was funny.
Apparently that allows you to race somebody hard.
I see a new series. This is Dale Jr. parenting tips 101. You can punch in the face, you can swing back.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with that.
Ross is hanging in here. I know that, you know, he might have been just kind of running 90%, maybe 85%. So we'll see if he can mount a charge. Reddick was really fast in practice yesterday. This 1 car was as well, but I think Reddick, we all agree, was probably the best car. But I talked to Ross before the race started. I said, hey, man, they're fast, but what's the car like on the long run? He just grinned and nodded, walking away. I think this guy's really confident in what he can do tonight.
Teams are going to have to stay up on changes, especially the way the track changes, because that's what happened a year ago when Toyota was so dominant on this racetrack. But then late changes in the race, and it ended up being Chase Elliott who stayed out and was able to get the win. I want to take a look at the Xfinity fastest lap, and it's race leader Tyler Reddick. His fourth lap of this race, 30.318 seconds. Just under 158 miles an hour average speed around this mile and a third. Kim.
And a team that had a lot of confidence coming into this weekend, it was the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. You see the Toyota onboard camera. After those green flag stops, though, Martin came on the radio and said, guys, the balance is not quite right after those changes. Then he added a little more specificity later in this run, saying he is loose in, tight center, loose off, can't do what he wants with that race car, so they'll look for more changes at the end of this stage, Dave.
Chase Elliott is up 5 positions from the start of the race, and he's heard the great words, hey, fastest car on the track, a couple of different times. Not the Xfinity fastest lap overall, but he's been the fastest of everyone a couple of different times. And that is good news. Now, Alan Gustafson told me today they weren't great at the start last year. They won the race. They're great at the start this year. Steve, you know the challenge. Okay, let's keep it great while the track changes.
That's it. You know it's going to change. You have an idea which direction it's going to go. As now we see the battle for the lead back on as Chastain has caught the 45. He's to the inside of him, Rick.
See if he can make the pass down there on the yellow line, but he's going to have another car.
Slide job.
Becoming effective.
Slide job, Rick.
I've heard that before. We see the 45 of Reddick making his way back up in front. Did you think that the one was going to slide up into Reddick there?
He was just trying to take his line away, seeing if Reddick would back out of the gas. He throttled up with the only opportunity really he had to try to take that spot away. That tells you how hard it is to make the pass, but I'm so glad to see this one loses the lead. And now he's going to be able to have enough race car to try to go back up there and get that lead back. Comers and goers, this 45 not good out front.
Look at this. Todd Gilliland and 38 on the inside. It's closing the gap again between 1 and 2. Now we'll see if Chastain can mount another surge to see if he can get by Reddick.
He goes to the top of the racetrack down here, Rick, trying to see if he can create some momentum. He's passing the lap car, but also running the top. So let's see how they got side by side. Ross is way back there, so the 45 gets up a little bit too high, and I think that he wasn't sure. He was slick in the dirt, in the marbles, wasn't sure about getting back to the throttle. That allowed the one to get there. So big mistake on the 45. Not so much that Ross is better, trying to run him down, just a slip up for Reddick trying to get that higher groove working in. The drivers talk about not being able to really see where the groove is. Obviously, you can tell where the rubber's put down, but they don't know where that resin on the racetrack is. It doesn't have a color. So when you try to move the groove even higher and higher and higher, you take a risk of getting up there in the dirty stuff.
Reddick's been out front for 11 laps. He's being chased by Chastain.
Looks like another commercial break coming up with 19 laps to go in Stage 1. Currently your top 10. Tyler Reddick has the race lead. Ross Chastain in second. William Byron third. Martin Truex Jr. fourth. Denny Hamlin is fifth. Chase Elliott in 6th, Kyle Busch 7th, Kyle Larson 8th, Christopher Bell 9th, and AJ Allmendinger is in 10th. So that is your top 10 currently late in this stage. Be sure to like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you guys have not done so already. We will take a quick break here, and then we'll have the remainder of Stage 1 the rest of the way. You're listening live to the Ally 400 Nashville Superspeedway live on KRC. Be sure to vote if you haven't already for who you think will win today's race. 150 votes have been casted already. And it looks like somebody other than Chastain, Truex, or Bell is your guys' pick. Now, those three are 1, 2, and 4 in the running order right now. William Byron just passed Truex for third a handful of laps ago. And they were closing in on Reddick and Chastain when they were battling for the lead because they were over 3.5 seconds back at one point. The 45 and the 1 have gone back and forth a couple different times here. Reddick pulling away the last couple of laps so from Chastain once they got around the lap car of Todd Gilliland. And now it looks like Noah Gragson is the free pass car. And actually Gilliland went a second lap down when he just got lapped. So he is 2 laps down. Corey LaJoie is the last car in the lead lap currently. And we have about 16 to go under this commercial break to the end of the stage. Still caution-free, though, up to this point. And it'll be interesting to see if they end up staying caution-free throughout the course of the race. Evan Stevens, by the way, thanks for that $2 super chat. Thanks for the $5 super chat also. Thank you. So, yeah, slide job. You got to hear Dale Jr. call that on stream. Just not in person, unfortunately. And the $2 super chat, you asked me who I thought was going to win the race. I picked Tyler Reddick to win the race before the start. I don't change my picks once the race itself starts. But Reddick looking very fast. He's obviously leading right now and took the lead from Chastain. Had a little help from Noah Gragson, who slowed him up. They were just talking about it jokingly over the broadcast, too, that Gragson did get punched in the face by Chastain a handful of weeks ago. So I'm sure that is likely the reason why he was running the one hard when he was leading. Never made contact with him, just was side-drafting him quite a bit when he was trying to lap him, and it held Chastain up enough for Reddick to close the gap. Reddick was within a half a second of the lead almost the entire race up to this point, and then passed him. I think the 45 and the 1 car are just so equal with each other right now. It's just a matter of who can get the clean air in that track position will help the most. There is a couple cars that are side-by-side at the tail end of the field right now of Corey LaJoie and Michael McDowell, which is going to slow up Reddick because he's got nowhere to go to get the clean air, and Chastain's trying to mount a charge here late in the stage as a result of that. 13 to go, stage 1 up to this point. William Byron still keeping a decent gap in between himself and the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. It's a good battle going on there for third place as well. Christopher Bell, the biggest mover of the race so far, up 11 positions as he's in the top 10 up to 9th. Qualified in 20th for this one. Actually qualified 22nd, but Suarez going to a backup car, started at the rear of the field, and the 16 of AJ Allmendinger failed pre-race inspection multiple times, so he had to drop to the rear for the start. AJ has gained quite a few positions, by the way. He is on the move and has been one of the faster cars on the field, up to 10th. Allmendinger won the Xfinity Series race yesterday, so strong start for that 16 car. We'll look out for him throughout the course of this one as we continue on. It'll be interesting on whether or not LaJoie will go a lap down before the end of the stage. If he does, then Noah Gragson will not get the free pass. The 7 will. And I don't believe they're going to catch anybody else to put a lap down after Corey LaJoie. Daniel Suarez is about a second and a half ahead of the 7 car. And the next-gen cars are just so equal with one another. It takes so long to get into lap traffic. The fact that we've had a green flag run of 81 laps and we've only seen 11 drivers go a lap down right now just shows how equal the field is from top to bottom with these race cars, and only being the second year of this car being in place in the Cup Series. By the way, Kyle Busch is in 7th place right now. He's in a fuel conservation mode. Remember, he had to pit at lap 15. I'm not sure if he can make it on fuel all the way to the end of the stage, but the hope is that they could try to stretch it out, finish in the top 10 to the end of the stage as a result, but they may have to pit again. That'll be interesting to watch as well as we are in the final 10 laps of stage 1.
The 16 of AJ Allmendinger is all the way up into 10th place. Won yesterday's Xfinity race. Had a great drive. Continues to drive through the field today. A very strong car.
How much of that momentum coming from a win in the Xfinity Series can he move over here and bring to his Cup car?
I think that having some of the laps on the track and knowing how slippery this track was yesterday, now he learned something everybody else in this Cup race didn't, but the shift pattern of the car being so different, the rack and pinion steering, the tires being so different, he didn't really learn anything as far as balance or anything that's really going to help his performance or this car drive better because of what he did, right? So I do know that he understands where the groove is, where he can take the car, where to find speed. That he learned all that yesterday, and he had an awesome performance to be able to take the win. Colleague's not had an incredible season so far in the Cup Series. It's a new team, building, improving. These are the runs that they need out of their 2 drivers. They had a great qualifying effort with Haley this year, or this weekend. Haley back in 15th. But AJ getting it done in the top 10 today. He wants to stay there.
It's been 67 laps since Kyle Busch was on pit road at lap 15. He's got 7 more to try to stretch, and if he's going to make it on field at the end of the stage, it would get him some stage points with a top 10 finish. And that was not something not only he was looking at before, but he was also in danger of being a lap down at the end of the stage with not having a caution yet. So if he does come onto pit road, I doubt he's going to be in the free pass position anymore. And he will be stuck a lap down to start the next stage. Now, by pitting late in the stage 2, he could take the wave around to get back on the lead lap. knowing that we'll likely see everybody hit pit road as well at the end of this first stage. So there's that going for him. If he does have to pit, that will likely be the strategy call for the 8 going forward to get back on the lead lap to start the second stage regardless, but at least they have a shot at stage points still if they could make it, so there is a reason to stay out here to the end. Chastain back to within about 0.2 of a second of Reddick at the start-finish line that last time by as he tries to mount a charge. 5 laps to go in stage 1 to this point. Your top 5, Tyler Reddick leads, Ross Chastain second, William Byron's now just 1 second off the lead in third, Martin Truex Jr. in fourth, and Denny Hamlin is up to fifth. 2 Chevys and 3 Toyotas inside the top 5 right now.
Good off of 4. I got differences between the ends. Right down as the steering sucks.
I think Randall Burnett will be able to fix everything except the steering, probably.
I like that one. What I like is he didn't say, hey, can you fix it? He just write it down so we can talk about it this week. I know you can't fix it, but this needs to be discussed this week in the meeting. I don't like the steering. That was great description, though, guys. I mean, he took us really a whole lap, compared the 2 ends, not just entry, middle, and exit. A lot of good information for his crew chief.
One car washing up in the dirty air there, a little bit trying to get a run on the leader, the 45 car Reddick, as they go through some traffic. This presents an opportunity, and look at the back there. Byron, Truex closing in on the duo up front, making this a 4-car battle for the lead.
I think a lot of the dirty air from the lap cars in front of the leaders is the reason why Byron and Truex have been running some of the faster laps on the racetrack and have ran down the top 2 late in the stage. The problem is they're not going to have many laps to try to get around them as they're coming to 2 to go this time by, which is just slightly less than 3 miles around this 1 1/3 mile racetrack. Reddick now has opened up a half a second lead. He was a couple tenths quicker than Suarez at last lap. Reddick did get by the lap car, I believe, of Bilicki, and then the other 3 cars behind them were not able to get by the 78. Byron's got a big run on the 1 of Chastain. Chastain drives it in very deep into turns 3 and 4. He wanted to make sure he was going to finally clear Bilicki. He does. Off the exit of the corner. 1 lap to go now in stage 1. Reddick is side by side with Corey LaJoie. LaJoie trying not to go a lap down to the end of the stage. If he does, he'll be in the free pass position anyway to get his lap back. LaJoie on the outside, Reddick down on the bottom. That's going to hold Tyler Reddick up for another corner. Chastain has got a run. Is he going to have enough time to get to the 45 car into turns 3 and 4? Both on the bottom. They're not going to be able to get to Reddick here. LaJoie will stay on the lead lap, and Tyler Reddick will win stage 1 at Nashville. Chastain second, Byron third, Truex fourth, and Denny Hamlin 5th, and that will round out the top 5 in stage 1. Also receiving stage points positions 6 through 10. Chase Elliott 6th, Kyle Busch 7th. He did make it on field to the end of the stage. Kyle Larson in 8th, Christopher Bell 9th, and AJ Allmendinger from the rear to 10th. It's a good run there for AJ as well. So Tyler Reddick gets the stage 1 victory. And now's a good time to check out the point standings. Means we didn't get a chance to with them moving the start time up at the beginning of this race. Reddick came into the day 13th in the regular season standings. Top 10 all receive additional playoff points at the end of the regular season, so he's trying to get himself back to that point. So again, 13th coming in. This is the 3rd stage win of the year for Reddick, and I think it's the first since Coda earlier this season, if I am not mistaken. So good job for Reddick. Again, 3rd stage win of the year for him. Martin Truex Jr. came into this race with the points lead, 13 points ahead of William Byron, so that battle between them for 3rd at the end of the stage was very important there. Byron gets 1 point on Truex. Blaney ended up outside of the top 10, no stage points for him. He was tied for 3rd with Chastain. They're both 24 points back. Chastain obviously beat the 24 and the 19 in that stage, so he's still trying to get back into contention. Kevin Harvick, 50 points, only 25 back. Kyle Busch was 29 back in 6th. It's amazing that the top 7 in points, all within 32 points, and only 8 points separate 3rd through 7th in the standings coming into the race today, so there could be a lot of movement there the way this one may shape out the rest of the way. Denny Hamlin over Raceworth of points back in 8th. Drivers that are locked into the playoffs, virtue of wins this season: Martin Truex Jr. with 2 wins, William Byron with 3, Ryan Blaney with 1, Kyle Busch with 3, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano each have 1 win. Kyle Larson has 2. And then Tyler Reddick and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. also have 1 win, all in the top 16 in points overall. Drivers without a win and where they're facing on the cutoff line right now, Ross Chastain plus 173, over 2 full races worth of points ahead of the line. Same for Harvick, he's plus 172. Over 1 race ahead is Chris Buescher, who is 11th overall in the regular season standings. He's 102 points to the good, and his teammate and team owner, Brad Keselowski, is 96 points to the good. A lot closer on the cutoff line coming into the race today. Bubba Wallace plus 26. The last driver above the cutoff line is Alex Bowman at plus 3. Daniel Suarez is the first driver down. He is minus 3 points. Ty Gibbs, who's had a great rookie season, is minus 11 points. Michael McDowell, minus 14 points after a great run at Sonoma. Scored stage points, top 5, both stages, top 5 finish for him. That closed the gap quite a bit there. He gained a couple spots in the standings as well. AJ Allmendinger, who got a stage point to start this race in the top 10 early, minus 33, so he could try to close that gap today. And that is pretty much the top 20 in points coming into this one. We will be seeing some pit stops coming up here shortly during the Stage 1 break. And I guess pitting at lap 15 ended up actually working out for Kyle Busch because that cycled him up 3 positions with being able to short pit about 30 laps early. Went from 10th to 7th. He didn't have to actually pass cars on the track itself. Rowdy Busch, thanks for tuning in. There is a Rowdy Busch in the chat. Not the Rowdy Busch, but a Rowdy Busch. 86 likes on the stream as well. Remember, our goal is 150, so be sure to hit that like button if you haven't done so yet, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Pit road is open, and the leaders are in.
Top left, Mark Truex Jr., 4th place finish in that stage, but he said, I'm disconnected in the rubber. I cannot carry momentum. The left rear getting a little bit squirrely for fresh Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel for Truex, Dave.
Number 11, Denny Hamlin gives up 5th position. He said it was migrating just the same as the first one, but a little bit worse turning in the middle of the corner. Marty.
Playoff point in the books for Tyler Reddick. He said he's loose on throttle, and also a mention of brake shake, which we heard earlier from another car as well. Nice stop by that bunch also up on front of pit road. Ross Chastain said his car too free on exit, but the best stop, William Byron and his team showing why they've been number 1.
Byron's crew once again winning the race off of pit road, and not even with the number 1 pit box this week. Gains 2 positions, beating Chastain and Reddick out of the pits. And great job by that 2014. They have been the best pit crew all year by far, clean and efficient, and they have another clean and efficient stop in the first caution flag pit stop of the race with our first caution with the Stage 1 break coming out. So we will take a quick break here, then we'll get on with the action to start the next stage. You're listening again live for the NASCAR Cup Series Ally 400 at Nashville Superspeedway on KRC. Interesting to see what will come of this upcoming restart. Fast pace to start this one here today. Much faster than the Xfinity race yesterday. First 2 stages of the Xfinity race, we saw, I believe, 7 cautions? Those first 90 laps. And we had none in the first 90 laps today. Shows you the difference in the talent level between the 2 series. Maybe slightly easier cars to drive in the Cup side as well, but a lot more experience, so it definitely plays into effect. I think Joey Logano lost a few spots on pit road, trying to see if anybody else had any major losses. Tyler Reddick, for the most part, pretty good. Noah Gragson did get the free pass at the end of the stage with staying 1 lap down, the first car lap down. Corey LaJoie did a great job being able to fend off Reddick while Reddick was still able to win the stage. Reddick lost 2 spots on pit road from the lead, falls back to 3rd. And I believe there was a 2-tire stop in there somewhere. I think Kyle Larson might have taken right sides only. There was somebody on the top 10 when they came out of the pits that took right sides only, and I'm thinking it was Larson. Although I could be wrong on that. And that graphic could have been wrong too. It could have been a 4-tire stop, and I know Fox was having issues with that throughout the course of the season. You kind of had to pay attention to the stops themselves to see if they took 2 or 4. Everyone rooting for Rowdy. Ironic. Boos to cheers all around. Yeah, well, he drives Chevy now, and I think a lot of people kind of feel bad for him for losing his ride the way he did with the lack of sponsorship. lack of sponsorship. It seemed like with the 18 and bringing Ty Gibbs in there. Gibbs did dominate in the Xfinity Series, but to boot out a two-time champ, only for that two-time champ to come out and win 3 of the first 16 races the next season in another car that is slightly lesser equipment, so to speak. Yeah, it does make you wonder a little bit about the situation there. Good chance I will be at the Chicago Street Course races next week for the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series, so no live commentary streams will be coming on the channel for next week's action, with that being the case. So there will be race highlight videos from the grandstands, just like I do with every race I go to in person. It's just the second race I've gone to so far this year as of next weekend, but again, race highlight videos from the grandstands from the Xfinity and Cup Series races. From the Chicago Street Course next week, you'll want to be able to watch those, so be sure to subscribe for that. And then, of course, on the race weekends when I'm not at the track and right here in the comfort of my own place, that we will have the live commentary streams for the Truck, Xfinity, and Cup Series when they're all racing. Trucks are off next week, but there will be some racing for the Xfinity and the Cup Series again that I will have coverage with on the channel from the track. Just not live. And they do have quite a bit of the grandstands actually already up for that, so pretty cool. See, they got some aerial shots of that. Guess Parker Kligerman's in Chicago right now. I didn't think he still worked for NBC, honestly. Kind of surprised when you consider the fact he's running full-time in the Xfinity Series. Wonder if he'll still be on some of the Cup broadcasts throughout the course of the year then.
It's fitting that NASCAR would choose Chicago as its first ever street course race, because back in 1895, the first ever major auto race in America was held here in Chicago. To Evanston and back to Chicago, it was 54 miles. It took 10 hours and 23 minutes. And I'm no rocket scientist, but I think the races on Saturday and Sunday will be a little faster than that. And I can tell you, it is palpable, the enthusiasm that this city has for this racetrack. As I walked around here today, you could see fans and people taking pictures of the course being set up, the grandstands, all the event atmosphere around here is starting to build up. You can just tell that everyone's excited.
Yeah, smiles on everyone's face. Parker, thank you so much for being out there. We appreciate that. Getting us a little preview of what we're going to see next week.
Oh, it's going to be so awesome. A few quick updates. The 4 and the 8 both caught speeding, and A.J. Allmendinger lost a few spots with a slow pit stop.
So there you have it. Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch with pit road speeding penalties. The two veterans and former champs at the tail end of the field. Green flag back in the air. Byron on the inside of the front row. Ross Chastain to the outside. Down into turns 1 and 2, a couple of drivers pulling out of line, trying to go 3 wide at the outside the top 10. Speaking of 3 wide at the front of the field, Martin Truex Jr. gets underneath both of Byron and Chastain as they make contact. The 24 and the 1 get into one another on the outside. Truex is still trying to go from 3rd to 1st on the bottom lane as they remain 3 wide through turns 3 and 4. Off the exit of the corner, it's going to get tight, but all cars will stay off of each other this time and remain 3 wide. Side by side behind them between Denny Hamlin and Reddick, as Reddick has nowhere to go. He's boxed in. Every lane is clogged up. Chastain in the 3rd lane, Byron in the middle, Truex on the bottom, all trying to give each other as much room as possible, and they're still 3 wide. Down the backstretch this time for a lap and a half. They have been 3 wide for the race lead, as if it's a super speedway. I mean, it's in the name, but it doesn't mean it's actually a super speedway. And now they're 3 wide further back for position. Christopher Bell gets by both the 11 and the 45 in a 3 wide pass to go from 6th to 4th. And now he's trying to close in on the 19, 24, and the 1 in front of him. It is amazing what the 3 cars at the front of the field have been able to do. They have been 3 wide for 2 consecutive laps following the restart.
Now the 24, surging ahead of the 19, and can he clear the 1? He doesn't. Here comes Ross Chastain on the outside again.
As they side draft each other.
A lot of side drafting going on off turn 4. Truex went to the apron to stay away from the side draft in the tri-oval, and he is going to be clear for the race lead off of turn 2. After nearly 2.5 laps of 3 wide battling for the lead at the front of the field, it's Martin Truex Jr. who comes out with his first lead of the race. Chastain in 2nd and Byron fell to 3rd. Byron back to the inside of Chastain through turns 1 and 2. Chastain going down the track to try to side draft the 24, but Byron is clear off the exit of the corner and now into P2. Well, Chastain and Reddick fall back to 3rd and 4th on the restart after finishing 1st and 2nd at the end of Stage 1. Reddick won the stage, is now currently in 4th. Your top 5 following the restart in this order: Martin Truex Jr. leads, William Byron 2nd, Ross Chastain 3rd, Tyler Reddick 4th, and Christopher Bell is in 5th. Lap 102 of 395 laps is the scheduled distance in Stage 2, just 5 laps longer than Stage 1. Very close quarters racing between Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson in the battle for 7th as they remain side by side all the way down the front stretch. Larson almost got into the side of Blaney's car. Larson on the outside was trying to side draft the 12 on the front stretch. And they've been side by side for about a good 2 laps or so as well. Holding each other up quite a bit. The Denny Hamlin in 6th is pulling away from the 2 cars. Blaney, the highest running Ford and the only one in the top 10 other than Buescher, who just took over 10th for Bowman on the restart. Blaney is clear of Larson off the exit of turn 2. This is the highest he's been in the running order all day. Again, P7 for that 12 car. Chase Elliott going to dive to the bottom, trying to get by his Hendrick Motorsports teammate Kyle Larson through turns 3 and 4. Elliott, the winner of this race a season ago, likely in a must-win situation to make the playoffs this year. Still pretty far back in the point standings, and it's going to be tough for him to gain on a week-to-week basis with only 10 races left. But if he doesn't get a win, that's going to be fun to watch throughout the summer. He needs some solid, good finishes. Missed 6 weeks due to a leg injury in which he had broken a bone in a snowboarding accident in his leg, and of course had that suspension a couple weeks ago where he missed a 7th race this season. All of that hurting him in the case of trying to make the playoffs this year, despite a hot start before the leg injury those first 2 races, and still, relatively speaking, has had some good runs in recent races leading up to that break that we had last week. So after Elliott got by Larson, now Chris Buescher trying to get by the 5 car, and Larson is starting to fall back after the restart. His teammate Alex Bowman not that far behind him in the 48 car, running the Ally colors for today's race in the Ally 400. AJ Allmendinger squeezing the 48. The 48 not too happy with that as he makes contact and sticks his hand out the window following the contact off turn 4. The 16 almost crowded the 48 into the wall. I do believe that Bowman did not make contact with the wall, but definitely got used up just a little bit. He's going to be clear now as he throws a block on the backstretch, and I think AJ was waving his hand out the windshield of his car in the backstretch as well, the way the 48 was racing. So both of them not happy with the way they're racing each other. And I think the 48 was racing the 16 a little harder in retaliation of the 16 using up the 48. Remember, Bowman missed a couple races this season as well, missed 3 points races, as well as the All-Star race after a broken vertebrae in his back from a sprint car accident. And he's still inside the cutoff line of points, but only by 3 over Daniel Suarez. No stage points for either the 48 or the 99 in Stage 1. And Suarez, after starting at the rear of the field, the backup car has made his way up to 17th right now, so he is closing that gap just a little bit more. Martin Truex Jr. has about an 1/8 of a second lead over William Byron to this point. Slowly pulling away from him. First time, again, we have seen Truex out in front in today's race. After battling 3 wide for the lead for 2.5 laps, maybe even a slight bit more than that they were battling for. Truex was able to get to the bottom in turns 1 and 2 as they were getting up to speed on that initial restart, and the 24 and the 1 to the outside were able to side draft each other enough that the 19 was able to pull clear after a couple laps of running on the bottom. Chase Elliott now going to catch his next driver for position, and that would be Ryan Blaney for 7th place. He'll clear him easily, first chance he got to get to the inside of Blaney through 3 and 4. Full screen commercial break right now on NBC. We'll go through the full field running order on lap 111 of 300. Martin Truex Jr. has a 9/10 of a second lead again over William Byron in 2nd. Ross Chastain's in 3rd. Tyler Reddick 4th. And Christopher Bell is in 5th. Denny Hamlin in 6th place. Chase Elliott 7th. Ryan Blaney 8th. Kyle Larson 9th. And Chris Buescher is in 10th. Alex Bowman in 11th. AJ Allmendinger 12th. Ty Gibbs 13th. 14th is Eric Almirola. And Eric Jones in 15th. 16th place is Joey Logano. Daniel Suarez 17th. Brad Keselowski 18th. Bubba Wallace 19th. And Austin Dillon is 20th. 21st is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Kyle Busch in 22nd. And Kevin Harvick 23rd. Both those two had a pit road speeding penalty during the Stage 1 brake caution. Corey LaJoie in 24th. Justin Haley 25th. Noah Gragson 26th. Ty Dillon 27th. And J.J. Yaley is 28th. Austin Cindric 29th. And Harrison Burton is 30th. Chase Briscoe 31st. Ryan Preece 32nd. Brendan Poole 33rd. 34th place is Todd Gilliland. Michael McDowell 35th. And Josh Bilicki is 36th. Both McDowell and Bilicki are 2 laps down. 1 lap down is everybody in positions 29 through 34. The only caution was the Stage 1 break at lap 90. We have had 8 different drivers lead at least 1 lap in the race today. Suarez, Bowman, Elliott led 1 lap during green flag pit stops. Ty Dillon led 4 laps during green flag stops. And then the only other drivers to lead laps, Byron led 5, all under caution during the winning of the race off of pit road, and probably the first lap or 2 after that restart as well. Truex has led the last 15 laps. Chastain led the first 54 at the start of the race before Tyler Reddick led the last 33 of Stage 1. And with those 8 different drivers leading the lap, we have had a total of 11 lead changes amongst those 8 different leaders. Average race speed to this point is 138.42 miles per hour here in the early going. Nope, the race is on NBC. Local NBC affiliate this weekend is where you can watch this NASCAR Cup Series race, if you are wondering. Liam Buford, thanks for tuning in. I'm from the great state of Ohio, and I say that sarcastically. In the U.S., obviously, if you aren't from the U.S. Dean Harshberger, thanks for tuning in. The 48 car's in 11th right now. You have KB back up to 20th. Troy McDonald, thanks for tuning in. He's pulling for Busch, Harvick, and Wallace. NBC back from the commercial break, and you guys will get to listen into their coverage leading to their next break.
Place looks amazing. We were coming in early today, and the parking lot was already half full. I mean, these people came out. They came out in droves all day long. This is the party is continuing.
Look at all the smiles.
You see that? That was a 78 Martin Truex Jr. hat with a 19 Martin Truex Jr. T-shirt. That's like showing your fan commitment through the generations.
The years of support.
I like that.
Martin Truex Jr. out front by a 2nd and a 3rd over William Byron. Byron had got the lead after his pit stop, but it was Truex that was able to get by him after that 3-wide battle. And most recently, the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. Very impressive run at Sonoma.
It was impressive because, no stage breaks anymore at the road courses. So the strategy gets a little bit more, spun around, can get mixed up. And the 19 actually got a bad break when a yellow came out. Lost a bunch of track position and was able to drive through the field. That's what really impressed me. Not just the speed, but once he kind of got mired back there in traffic, he found a way back to the front. Impressive drive for the 19. I mean, these numbers right here are just amazing since 2016, right? 30 wins. And think he had a winless year last year. So, when you think of 30 wins, it was fun. We had him on the Peacock pit box during qualifying, and he reminded me of the Truex that was so close to winning some of those championships, winning all those races, had a smile on his face, was excited to be here. Him and James Small have definitely had some ups and downs. There's James on top of the pit box. Their communication style is a little unlike anything else. We heard about how Allmendinger gets fiery on the radio. Well, this time I'll actually reverse it. I think Truex is the calm one on the radio. James is the one that kind of pokes him back a little bit, but it works for these two.
Well, a lot of criticism last year, right? They didn't make the playoffs. They finished 4th in regular season points, but they didn't make the playoffs. And Truex is a driver that we've become accustomed to contending for championships. And, 4th in regular season is great, but you got to win. And they found they didn't win, but this year they've been able to get those wins, and things are much, much better.
Well, there's action. We saw that 3-wide battle for the lead was just my mind was blowing. It was exploding trying to figure out what's happening. But there's beating and banging all over the racetrack. We've seen the 16 and the 48 go back and forth at one another. The 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and the 3 of Austin Dillon, they also have, I won't say traded words, but traded some gestures, took a couple swipes at each other on the racetrack. You can see right here, this is the 47. He was clear-ish. I mean, he comes all the way up right here. And I mean, the 3, I think, has no choice. I don't know if he was going to continue to take him up, and there's actual contact.
I think the 47 had a bobble right there and chased it up into the 3. This is the 48. Telling the 16 he's not happy. We've seen them going at it.
You know, one thing about this car I noticed is that drivers run other drivers out of the groove more than they have in the past. It's become a way you drive these race cars, is you go to the throttle so early and you just use all the racetrack up, and if somebody's out there, you just kind of run them out of the groove. And you hear a lot of drivers talking about others being not respectful, and that's what they're talking about. It's just, you know, that's something you didn't see in the past, but it's become fairly custom to watch it.
And the reason why I think they're able to do that is because the way this car doesn't get loose, it doesn't lose side force when you drive up next to somebody. So if you're going to get up close to somebody with the old car, you tend to get loose right when you got next to them, and you're definitely going to make contact, take you both up into the fence. This car here, you drive in the gas, and when you get next to another car, you don't lose any of that side force and rear grip.
Kevin Harvick right here off the rear bumper of Stenhouse. Harvick had that speeding penalty, so he's driven himself back up. He's just outside the top 20. Stenhouse running 20th. Great look right here from the Ballpark Buns camera. Looking back. You know, Jeff, you talk about that move, and I remember the first time we saw like those big slide job moves, and you were unhappy with those. You said that that would never happen when you were a driver. I'd love to see your reaction if someone just ran you kind of up and took the lane. You guys would lose your minds.
Would not have been happy.
Stenhouse was just right into the back bumper. The 22 car lost a lot of air. Lost the whole car, and the 4 is going to get by him right here. 22 falling backwards through the field. Logano struggling. Harvick now on the charge trying to get to this 22. You see the 22 in the high lane up here in front of us, off the nose of this 47. Harvick there in the orange car on the bottom of the screen.
Lost all my front grip. My rear is no different, but we're plowing whatever we did.
Well, he was right up behind the 22, and it's going to lose a lot of front grip when you do that. Dave, what you got?
Oh, I got Christopher Bell moving up through the field. He's the second biggest mover on the afternoon. 15 positions up from where he started back in 20th. He's up in the top 5 now. Just a slight air pressure adjustment last time to make it perfect. Marty?
Boy, Dave, at the end of the last run, Ryan Blaney was struggling to stay in the top 15. But after an adjustment from Jonathan Hassler, how did it fire off on this run? Listen in.
Fired off really good. I'm starting all night here. Driving the corner so deep. I can't do it without just either spinning out or blowing the center. Fired off better there.
Little honest commentary from Ryan Blaney saying, I cannot drive as deep as those around me, saying he's losing a little bit of grip at the end of the run too, Kim.
Well, we've talked about the building that RFK is doing, and I asked crew chief Scott Gray what their approach is for this 17 car of Chris Buescher, and he said, you can't just hope to knock off a win. You have to do the work to consistently put yourself in position. For them, that means running top 5, running top 10. That is the goal each weekend, and they feel like they've done a good job of that this season. They're continuing that now. Buescher right now in the 10th position, just a little bit on the free side.
See Buescher right now, playoff bubble. He's currently in the 13th spot. I would say comfortably.
All right, so headed to another commercial break right now on NBC. We'll go through the top 10. Currently, Martin Truex Jr. still holds a 1-second lead over William Byron. Tyler Reddick is 1.3 seconds back in third and closing after passing Ross Chastain recently. Ross Chastain is in fourth place, 2.8 seconds off the lead. Christopher Bell is in fifth place, 4.4 seconds back. And Denny Hamlin is in sixth, 4.9 seconds off the lead. Chase Elliott is 5.9 back in seventh. Kyle Larson is 8.4 seconds off the lead in eighth. Ryan Blaney in ninth is 9.5 seconds back. And 10 seconds off the lead in 10th is A.J. Allmendinger. Spotlight drivers based off of where they were at the very start of the race today and where they are currently running. The must-have picks of Martin Truex Jr., Tyler Reddick, and William Byron are actually all 1, 2, and 3. So how about that, guys? This is what I'm talking about. Pre-race. You got to tune in every week for the predictions. So far, nailing it. Sleeper picks Ross Chastain in 4th place. Bubba Wall's not quite looking as quick in this race today as I would have thought. He is back at 22nd. He is the furthest back of the Toyota drivers, and by far. Who else was the sleeper? Eric Jones also not having so great of a day. Actually, he's having a better day than what he was. He was outside the top 15 most of stage 1, but as the track temps are starting to cool off just a little bit as we get closer to the nighttime sky in Nashville, he's slowly working his way forward. He's up to 12th place, so maybe he does have a shot at a top 10 after all. So 1 for 2 on those for right now. Don't have picks for drivers who are predicted to finish outside the top 10 today no matter what. Kyle Busch is in 15th, right on that one. Daniel Suarez 17th. And Justin Haley, after starting in 4th, is back at 25th. So far 3 for 3 on those. So overall, 7 for 9 on predictions. I picked Reddick to win this race today. He's the fastest car, in fact, on the racetrack right now, as he's just passed William Byron for 2nd, and he's only 1.2 seconds behind race leader Martin Truex Jr. trying to run him down. Reddick did win stage 1 in this one, and so far has led the 2nd most laps with 33. Make that 3rd most as Truex has surpassed him in the laps led category. Truex has now led 35 and currently leads, again as mentioned, and pole sitter Ross Chastain led the first 54 laps of the race before losing the lead to Reddick just after green flag pit stops in stage 1. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Once again, if you have not already, we should be having some green flag pit stops coming up very, very shortly. Endangered Sense YTYB, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I'm connected for right now. The storms, for the most part, I mean, it was heavy when it came through, but it didn't knock the power out, so that's good. Earl Arnold Jr., thanks for tuning in. Let's see, James Moore, welcome back in. You can vote in the chat for who you think will win today's race as well if you haven't already. 182 votes have been casted so far, and right now you think somebody other than Reddick, Chastain, or Truex is going to win today's race. Again, I'm very surprised that is the case because Truex and Reddick are 1-2, and Chastain's 23rd. If you have voted already, you can change your vote before I close the poll, and we will close the poll at the end of stage 2, so we still got a little bit of time there, of course. Again, green flag pit stops should be coming up here any given moment. I think Ty Gibbs, Kyle Busch, the first 2 to pit road, mid-pack, they are in. You'll get to listen into the reports.
Will be changing, Dave.
Kyle Busch can pass race cars. We certainly know that, and we saw that in this last run from 28th on the restart after a pit road penalty up to 15th. He needs it to turn a little bit better in the center of the corner. Ty Gibbs below him. In the
Tyler Reddick and William Byron are in the pits. Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney are all in.
In this stage, everyone pitted in stage 1, splitting it in essence in half. You see William Byron jumping to his stall, saying the car just got too free the further he ran. Also Ross Chastain pulling in. Same comments for Chastain, that the car just got way too free. So that's sort of the commentary from a lot of the drivers, track changing in this run as well, Kim.
And for the 5-car of Kyle Larson, he told his team he's struggling on restarts tighter than it was before. Earlier in the run, though, he said it
Chase
was
Elliott, Martin Truex Jr. are in the pits as well.
Look at Martin Truex Jr.
AJ Allmendinger coming in.
Martin coming in just a little bit sideways on this stop. No major complaints, though, for Truex and that Toyota, Dave.
Chase Elliott, this run not bad because he still likes the balance. So where they were, they are, and he is okay with that. A little interference on the radio has been annoying, but it's not stopping them from hearing Chase.
Oh, we got a spin back there. Tyler Reddick's around. Tires off.
Reddick is around. The right rear tire is off the race car, and one of the favorites, Tyler Reddick, has spun at the entrance of pit road. May have been on his way in after potentially having a loose lug, but he is definitely without a right rear tire. Has to limp his car down onto pit road. That has caused a caution in the middle of green flag pit stops, our first for incident this afternoon. And Denny Hamlin was currently the race leader at the time of the yellow. He had not pitted, along with Keselowski, Wallace, and I believe those were the only 3 that did not hit pit road yet during those green flag stops, so they get bailed out with a yellow flag, and almost the entire field is going to get trapped a lap down here. Yeah, Reddick very loose in the bottom lane all the way through the corner, and then that tire ended up coming off mid-spin. And that is going to be a suspension there for his crew chief. Monetary fine along with it. It'll be interesting to see if he's going to be able to get that car back in contention in this one as well. Hopefully they didn't do too much damage to the race car and the underbody. It doesn't look like the right rear fender itself had much damage, but around that wheel, obviously not good to drag those metal parts on the asphalt as he was working his way back down to pit road. Doesn't look to have a toe link issue as he works his way back out of the pits after changing those right side tires again. But a tough break there for Tyler Reddick. Having the spin. And this is going to be interesting to see how this shakes the running order up.
That's what keeps it on the car without the nut for at least a few hundred feet, is it's kind of dragging on the brakes.
It's a good thing that tire, when it came off, it didn't bounce over that pit wall. It rolled into pit wall. That's what's so scary about those tires coming off. That thing's heavy. Fortunately, it didn't get momentum and it stayed on the ground.
Tyler Reddick had led 33 laps of this race, and now a right rear wheel coming off.
It's going to take a little bit for timing and scoring to kind of cycle all through, because remember, we were in the middle of pit stops. So yeah. Hamlin, Keselowski, Bubba Wallace.
Stay focused, get all we can out of it, regardless.
Had yet to pit, so.
And it could be a huge gain for some of those guys, especially the 23 and the 6.
As we look back from the Coke Zero Sugar pace car cam, let's go down to Marty.
Billy Scott trying to assess the situation here. Dave Rogers is here from 2311 Racing as well. So 2 laps down for Tyler Reddick. This has been a bit of an issue for the 45 team this year. They have had speed every week. Execution has been a problem, and occasionally pit road has been a problem as well. So with them being 2 laps down and early here in the middle of stage 2 here, Steve, is it game over for Tyler Reddick? What's the path back to getting a top 5 or a top 10 today?
Well, at this point, you're going to have to see some yellows in this race if the 45 wants to have an opportunity to recover. It really comes down to where it's cycled. To Dale's point, you see right here, a conversation with the team, trying to discuss probably A, what happened, B, what else needs to happen with the car itself. Is there any damage? That's really the answer, Marty. The first thing you have to do is see what kind of race car you still currently have, what kind of damage you have to the race car. If the brakes are fine, you're getting a little concerned about the underbody. It did slide through the grass right there. Still a long ways to go, short of halfway.
And I'm thinking, since this dropped during a caution or during a cycle, he's not going to be able to get that free pass right now because a lot of lead lap cars will stay on the racetrack.
The 11, the 6, and 23 all came to pit road.
So under caution for the second time today, first for incident following a spin at lap 138 from Tyler Reddick, who would have been in second place following green flag pit stops. Right rear tire came up off the car in the middle of turns 3 and 4 in the midst of the slide. And Reddick is now going to be a couple of laps down trying to come back from this for the rest of the way. And he's got to hope that he doesn't have too much damage on the race car if he's going to want a chance to try to get back into this one as well. But again, currently 2 laps down. We're going to see quite a few drivers take the wave around to get back on the lead lap. With this caution coming out in the middle of green flag pit stops, that is going to lock Hamlin, Keselowski, and Wallace up at the front of the field still. Once they make their pit stops, they had not pitted prior to the caution. With the caution coming out in the middle of green flag stops, Martin Truex Jr. was still scored on the lead lap ahead of the 11, the 6, and the 23 when the caution came out. So Truex will still be the leader when he stays out. But everybody else who took the wave around will line up behind the 6 and the 23 on the restart. So, fifth on back, again back on the lead lap, but they're going to have a little bit of extra ground to try to make up to get back into this. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you haven't already on the channel. Again, a reminder, good chance they'll be in Chicago next week for the street course race for both the NASCAR Xfinity and Cup Series Saturday and Sunday. With that being the case, there will be no live commentary stream next week, and it will simply be a race highlight videos that will be uploaded from the grandstands for next weekend's NASCAR content. So again, no live commentary streams. Trucks are off next week as well, but there will be some race highlight videos from the grandstands for both races, both an individual video of race highlights, which is usually compiled between 20 to 30 minutes, as well as some of the main highlights of both races as well throughout. Blind1771, thanks for tuning in. If I haven't shouted you out yet. Hammer54, welcome into the stream also. Thank you for doing the broadcast. No problem. Well, every week. Well, not next week, I guess, technically. But every week I'm here and not at the track. Mark Barnard, thanks for tuning in. And yeah, be sure to like and subscribe. We're at 100 likes on the stream. Our goal is 150, so we're 2/3 of the way there. We've got over 160 people watching as well, so also hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 5,000 subscribers on the channel, and we'll see if we can get there here in the coming months.
Car is past the yellow line. He's now on to pit road, even though he's in the grass and backwards. This right here should be the lesser of the two penalties. I believe Tyler Reddick is going to have a tail end penalty because it's under yellow. He also is going to have, you know, the double tail end penalty. He's on double secret probation because he also has a commitment line violation because he goes over the orange box. So I actually think this rule is as clear as it's ever been. If that tire right there that's rolling on pit road would have come off 500 yards earlier in the middle of 3 and 4 and it had gone up the banking, that's a 2-lap penalty for the 45 car. It's all about safety. This is what the teams in NASCAR work together to come up with. He was obviously trying to come back to pit road. This is no different than if it would have fallen off as soon as he left his pit box. The difference is he went back on the racetrack and he had some damage. So to go all the way back to Marty's point, Reddick currently is 2 laps down. He's going to be at the tail end here. It is not an impossible task, but it is an uphill battle. He's going to need some yellows. He's going to have to get a little bit of a lucky break and hope that there's no damage to the race car slowing it down. That's going to be the big thing. We know that the 45 had a great race car. Now, the rest of the scoring, Truex is the leader. And then behind him, we have a whole ton, 28 actually, 28 wave-around cars out of a 36-car field. Be easier to list the 8 that didn't wave around. So we have kind of a jumbled up start here. In the end, there'll be 25 cars on the lead lap. A whole bunch of those were wave rounds. So it's a confusing point, but it's all going to get reset here. In the end, Truex was the leader before stops. He's still the leader now. Denny Hamlin's second. Brad Keselowski, a little bit of a good break for him. He's up to 3rd. And Bubba Wallace, who had a good car early and faded, he's now up to 4th. So a good break for a couple of those cars.
All right, let's go to the Peacock bid box. And hopefully, hey, were you guys taking notes of what Steve was explaining there as far as the wheel coming off?
Yeah, I got it, Rick. Yeah, got it all written down right here. But we're going to talk about something else, which is Tyler Reddick and this team, which is a championship caliber driver and team to a certain extent.
Yes.
But they've got some things to clean up here, KP.
Yeah, you know, it's that extra half second, that extra fraction of a second to get that lug nut tight. When you run like these guys have run, you can't afford these mistakes. These are mistakes that take you out of scoring those 10 points for winning that segment, scoring those 9 extra bonus points or that extra playoff point. This is what this team has to clean up to be the type of championship contender we talk about when we talk about Kyle Busch or Joey Logano and those teams.
Yeah, and before we send it back up, I just want to talk about that restart to the second stage.
Wow.
3 wide for 3 laps. These guys thought they were in Talladega or something.
Listen, that's old school racing right there.
Yeah.
You used to see that at the fairgrounds. You see it at Talladega. You see it at Daytona. You see it other places. But on a 1.5 mile racetrack, on this mid-range Superspeedway, very rarely. I was on the edge of my seat, and I know you were too.
Yeah, sure was.
Well, we were as well, as they're now choosing inside or outside lines for the restart. Dave.
Kyle Busch is back in the mix. Here's a discussion with his team.
We got a good car, man. We'll make up for it. You're doing a great job out there, all right? Yeah, 10-4. My bad, getting us behind. We'll keep marching along. Yes, sir. Doing a great job.
No positivity there between crew chief Randall Burnett and Kyle Busch. 15th now as they go by the choose line and within striking distance of the front.
Dave, there are things in a race that can really change your outcome to the good or the bad. That was a situation right there where 2 drivers in cars, the 6 of Keselowski, the 23 of Bubba Wallace, that caution came out at a perfect time. The 6 was 18th, the 23 was in 22nd. Look where they're running now. They had not pitted, so that was a huge gain to these guys. Let's see if they can take advantage of it.
So the 11 and the 19 lead lap, 6:23 lead lap. 24, lead lap is a free pass. The 2 is a lap down. This is a very rare occasion, so the field's a little mixed up. What you need to know, the Gibbs car's on the front row, that is for the lead of the race.
Heading into the Geico restart zone, Martin Truex Jr. on the bottom lane, rather, and on the top, Denny Hamlin, green flag back in the air. Oh, Keselowski misses a shift on the start. They're 3 and 4 wide. Cars are wrecking behind. The caution's out again. Ryan Blaney slides to the inside wall, and Kyle Busch is also collected. Blaney's car is absolutely destroyed, and his day's going to come to an end. Brad Keselowski, I believe, missed a shift as he was going into the restart zone from the outside of row 2 with bottleneck quite a few cars up behind him, and Blaney hits hard into a concrete wall with no safer barrier. He was sliding forever before that car ended up making contact with the inside wall. Window net is down, and the AMR safety team is there on standby.
Sometimes don't put it somewhere. Cars have a way of finding those areas. We've went through this on all types of circuits throughout the series. Cars go in places you never thought they would.
It almost looked as though he couldn't steer it away from that wall, too, because he was headed in a straight line right at the wall when we saw the 8 be able to veer off and go a different direction and not make contact.
Yeah, just a weird series of events that put him in motion toward that wall. He's getting down on the ground, getting some great treatment here from the AMR safety crew.
He is out of the car. They will make the mandatory trip to the infield care center to get checked out. A doctor that travels all the time with the AMR safety crew down there. Let's take another look at what happened.
So the 6 car struggles, and you have to wonder how that stacked up everything here. Kyle Busch gets in the back of the 12 and turns him around. I mean, he just couldn't steer the car away from the direction it was going. I don't think there's anything Blaney could have done to change where this car was headed.
Yeah, that all started way ahead of him right there. That is such a massive hit.
Yeah.
See, it started way in the front, and now it's just a stack up.
Alex Bowman into the door of the 8 right there. A little contact on the right front of this 48 car. Blaney gets off the brakes, trying to hope that car is going to start to turn.
It's a hard
and
impact.
He can correct it. This could have been a whole lot worse. You know, the car not being able to accelerate.
Yeah, watch this. The angle of impact is what is bad about that wreck right there. It's not the speed of a car matters, but the angle of impact. And this is almost a straight head-on impact as the car goes to the wall. Look at that. You know, look at the left front and the right front. They almost hit at the same time, and that's how this is very hard to absorb that energy. If it hits a glancing blow, it does not have near the G-forces, but when it's head-on like that, it is a ton of G-forces.
As you mentioned, Rick, NASCAR has done a lot to these cars over the last year to try to allow these cars to absorb these type of hits better, and we typically aren't seeing this type of damage with these impacts. But now, as they have made some changes to both the front and the rear clip, that's the repercussions of it. You know, it's going to tear up a lot more stuff. They're going to spend more money in repairs and so forth, but it allows the car to absorb these hits so the drivers don't have to.
Well, we saw the 6 of Brad Keselowski was the car that seemed to have a trouble going on the restart. Let's listen in.
This thing did not go at all. It hit me so damn hard, I lost the shifter. Yeah, 10-4.
So
I guess he like his hand came off the shifter, like he got hit from behind and he lost grip of the shifter?
Well, it sounded like it started with his car doesn't accelerate. Like it doesn't accelerate. He said it doesn't go, and because it doesn't go, he hit me so hard, and yes, then it knocked his hand off the shifter. But why won't it go? That's what I want to know.
And I think that's what Brad Keselowski wants to know as well. So this one happens. 36 still to go in stage 2, but a big hit here for Blaney.
Yeah, it wasn't a very high-speed impact, but again, there was no safer barrier on that inside wall. Blaney did get out of his car under his own power, but then took a seat outside the car, so hopefully everything is okay there as he is headed to the infield care center following that accident. Kyle Busch was able to drive on by through the grass. Blaney got turned by Busch, but it wasn't because of anything Busch did wrong, really. It was a missed shift there for Brad Keselowski in the restart zone, which allowed for everybody to stack up behind him, and the 8 and the 12 were the two that ended up losing control after making contact with one another. They were actually on the inside line, but cars were scattering everywhere, top and bottom, trying to miss Keselowski, who was not going. Yeah, he went from, I mean, there was no way of telling exactly how fast he hit the outside wall from the graphics that NBC had. But his car went from a slide to a dead stop as soon as they hit, which is not good because that's absorbing a lot of impact there as a driver. So hopefully Blaney is okay. We have seen, obviously, a couple of driver injuries already this year, both on and off the racetrack. Noah Gragson had a crash where he ended up suffering a concussion just a couple weeks ago, and he ended up missing the last race at, not the last race at Sonoma, he would have missed the race before that at Gateway, or the crash at Gateway caused him to miss the Sonoma race after a brake rotor failure there, and this hard hit for Ryan Blaney. Hopefully he is okay as well. This into, again, a concrete wall, no safer barrier on the inside wall where he had hit, so it reminds you of Kyle Busch's hit, yeah, back in 2015. Well, the good news is when Busch hit that wall, he was probably going like 90 miles an hour versus at least they were in a restart here, so they weren't quite up to speed when Blaney hit. But Dale Jr. kind of prefaced it too. You got to put safer barrier. Like, cars find a way to hit, parts of a wall, or, areas where you wouldn't think that they're going to hit, but, crashes happen, accidents happen, and in this case there was an accident. No reason for there not to be safer barrier on the inside of the racetrack. And that's not NASCAR's fault. That's, Nashville Superspeedway for not making the renovations to put the safer barrier there. NASCAR mandates it in specific areas on the racetrack. Obviously, the outside wall pretty much all the way around, they mandate it. I don't know how they go about mandating the inside walls. I don't know how much they have say in it. Obviously, Nashville fairly new to the schedule, so they haven't had maybe as many TV contracts as to put renovations into the racetrack compared to other tracks on the schedule that the Cup Series has been racing at fairly consistently over the years. But even still, I mean, it puts drivers at much more risk and harm, obviously, as we just saw there. So again, best wishes with Ryan Blaney, and hopefully he is okay. And as soon as we hear reports from outside the infield care center with him or about him, you guys will get to listen into that as well. So we're going to try this restart again. Truex was the leader at the time of the caution through the scoring loop after the yellow came out just closely behind them when they crossed the start-finish line. Now it's Martin Truex Jr. and Denny Hamlin on the front row again. Truex again the control car on the inside. Green flag is back in the air. Bubba Wallace remains on the outside lane right behind his owner, Denny Hamlin, trying to give him a push as they go into turns 1 and 2. Wallace trying to get the clean air on the outside lane as the 19 and the 11 stay deadlocked. Wallace is going to be clear as Byron had a bit of a hiccup now in turns 1 and 2, and it looks like he's going to be able to pull back up in line for 4th right in front of Ross Chastain. But Wallace up behind the two Toyotas in front of him of Truex and Hamlin, nowhere to go, slides up in the dirty air bubble. Byron back to the inside of the 23 for 3rd as the 19 and the 11 are still deadlocked even at the start-finish line. Truex will lead that lap by inches over Denny Hamlin. Hamlin still on the outside into turns 1 and 2, holding the 19 tightly. The 19 moves up off the yellow line just a little bit as he works his way up the racetrack. He cannot clear Denny Hamlin. Hamlin is still there and fairly nose-to-nose still as they get into turns 3 and 4. We saw nearly 3 laps of 3 wide racing on the restart to begin stage 2. We'll see if we end up seeing that same thing here in a side-by-side battle between the 19 and the 11. Byron still has not been able to clear Bubba Wallace after getting back underneath him. And because those two are side drafting each other, actually not running nearly as fast of a pace as the two cars with the cleanest air in the field up at the front that continued to stay side by side of the Joe Gibbs Racing teammates of Truex and Hamlin. Again, Hamlin is on the top and Truex is on the bottom lane. Truex didn't aggressively side draft Hamlin that time on the backstretch. Might have lost a little bit of ground and had an awkward angle getting into 3 with how low he was on the entry. But still, Denny Hamlin not able to clear from the outside lane either. 170 plus miles an hour into the braking zone in turn 1 as the 19 has a nose out in front of Hamlin. Hamlin and Truex nearly made contact in the middle of turns 1 and 2, and they're still door-to-door for the lead. 3 laps in a row following the race start, and they have not moved an inch off of one another, as nobody can win the battle for the race lead between Hamlin and Truex.
Outside here, the side draft from the 19 pulls him forward. Truex noses ahead.
Denny swings wide again. Tries that same entry into 1.
Yeah, Truex can't clear it.
Truex slides the rear tires a little bit on the bottom that time, and that was the mistake needed for Denny Hamlin to finally clear for the race lead. And Hamlin's got his first lead of the day that isn't during green flag pit stops. Remember, he was the last car, or one of the last cars, to have to hit pit road during the Reddick incident, which caused a caution for his right rear tire coming off in the middle of green flag stops. That is what jumped Denny Hamlin to the front row for these last couple restarts and now has allowed Hamlin to get to the lead. Denny was running roughly around the 5th place position prior to that, so now Hamlin is to the point for the first time on speed and strategy today is equal with the rest of the field to this point, so we'll see what he can do from here on out. So following this race start, Denny Hamlin is the race leader once again. 0.2 of a second back is Martin Truex Jr. in second. William Byron's 1 second off the lead in third. Bubba Wallace is a 1.5 seconds off the lead in fourth. Christopher Bell is 1.8 seconds off the lead in fifth. Ross Chastain in 6th place is 1.9 seconds off the lead. Chase Elliott's in 7th, 2.3 seconds back. AJ Allmendinger having a good day in 8th is 2.9 seconds back. Kyle Larson is 3.5 seconds off the lead in 9th. And Eric Jones is up to 10th place now at 3.8 seconds off the race lead. So that is your top 10. 30, make that 27 laps to go in stage 2. Final stage of this race will be 115 laps. We're just past the halfway mark in this one, so it is going to be a finished race if we were to get inclement weather before the checkered flag waves. Chastain and Bell door-to-door as they battle for 5th place on the track. Chastain trying to get that spot back after losing it to Bell initially on the restart. Christopher Bell qualified outside the top 20 for this race today, but still made his way up inside the top 10 before the end of stage 1. He was 9th, I do believe, at the end of that first stage, and then has ran as high as 4th at one point in this race, but hasn't really been able to break into the top 3 yet today. We'll see if he can do that here into the later going as we get closer to racing into the nighttime skies. Local time at Nashville about 7:48 right now, so still under a situation where it's not complete darkness. It probably won't be for about another hour or so.
It's a spot to Chastain. It's going to stay right here on the door of the 9 down the front straightaway.
Christopher Bell fighting in that Toyota to get by the 9 of Chase Elliott.
About all the racetrack in the shade now, with the sun headed down. Starting to change the temperature of this racetrack a little bit. And it's going to give these drivers more grip, more confidence to run down here on the inside like this 9 car's doing right here.
Let's take a look at the Toyota driver update as we have quite a few up here in the top 6. Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Bubba Wallace, and Christopher Bell all inside the top 6. And Ty Gibbs back there in 13th. The gap between 1 and 2 has shrunk. It's down to a car length. Here comes Martin Truex Jr. throwing it in low and a little loose.
He dove it down in there.
Truex driving in a little too deep, trying to get underneath Denny Hamlin, who didn't leave much room for Truex to get there, and that slight mistake is going to cost Truex a little bit of time that last lap. Denny Hamlin widens that gap back out to about 0.4 of a second. Eric Jones putting a battle on Kyle Larson right now for 9th place. Larson hasn't really been a contender for a top 5 run in this one. He's kind of hovered right around pretty much where he's running right now in the 9th place position for most of this race. Ross Chastain, after getting by Christopher Bell a few laps ago now, is battling Bubba Wallace for 4th on the outside lane, trying to get a run now down the front stretch. Wallace was running the bottom and has continued to run the bottom pretty much since the restart. Bubba came in on the cutoff line just above coming into this race today, 23 points to the good for the 23 car, so a good stage point run here in stage 2 could be huge for him, despite not running in the top 10 for most of this race. Chastain is clear in that battle for 4th. Keselowski, after that slow restart, is falling outside the top 10 back to 11th. Though this is, again, as high as he's been in the running order, because he's been right around 20th most of this race. So Eric Jones in the 43, having a solid day in the top 10. He was one of the sleeper picks, currently in the 10th place position. The other 2 sleeper picks, Bubba Wallace in 5th, Chastain 4th. So 3 for 3 there. The 3 must-have picks, Martin Truex Jr. in 2nd place, William Byron in 3rd. And my race win pick, Tyler Reddick, had that right rear tire come off. He was the Stage 1 winner, also finished 2nd, or would have been in 2nd place if not for the end of that last stage. He is currently 2 laps down in 34th, so Reddick has his work cut out for him. It's going to be tough for him just to get back on the lead lap, let alone into a good finish as we're getting closer to the start of the final stage. 19 to go in stage 2. Side-by-side commercial break, a NASCAR non-stop break right now on NBC, so we'll keep our live commentary coverage rolling. Again, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you have not already. Our goal is to get to 5,000 subscribers on the channel here before the end of the summer. I think we've got a good chance to do so, so definitely subscribe if you haven't yet. And we have about 165 people currently watching the stream up to this point. 205 votes have been casted in the poll in the chat as well. If you haven't voted yet, be sure to do so. That will close at the end of stage 2. So far, you think somebody other than Reddick, Truex, or Chastain will win the race. Truex in 2nd place right now, Chastain in 4th. And Tyler Reddick, of course, again, 2 laps down to 34th after his problem. Notice he's dropped in the poll quite a bit since that issue, because you can change your votes as well if you have not done so. Might even be able to change it multiple times. I really have no clue. 46% though say somebody other than those 3 will win as of right now. Reddick Biffle, thanks for tuning in. Let's see who else is in here. Jupiter, thanks for tuning into the stream. Peanut Butter Hero, thanks for watching. Truex Jr. is Josh Berry, just 10 plus years older. Yeah, Josh Berry, it's going to be cool to see him in the 4 car at SHR next year. Curious to see what he'll do. He did a great job with HMS this season, and the fill-in roles he had with both the 9 and the 48 teams this year. Has had runs of about 7 races plus an all-star, or no, he would have ended up having about 10 races, I guess. Well, no, yeah, because Corey LaJoie was in the 7 car at Gateway, so would have been 10 races, I think, Josh Berry would have ran, plus the All-Star race. So 10 races and then the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro as well. So he's had some experience, which is good, obviously, going into a full-time rookie season. That's obviously helped drivers like Ty Gibbs out quite a bit to start the season. I would say the same for Noah Gragson, but it hasn't been the case for him. Not quite had the speed that Gibbs has had. Slightly lesser equipment. That whole Legacy Motor Club team in general hasn't had much speed, not just Gragson. Jones has been struggling this year, although Jones not struggling as much today. Again, just right around 10th place right now. The don't have picks for drivers who I predicted not to get top 10 finishes today. Kyle Busch is 22nd. Had a pit road speeding penalty, then that spin during that last caution. So he is not having a good run right now. And then the other 2 don't have picks. Daniel Suarez, 15th place. And Justin Haley, 23rd, so 3 for 3 on those predictions thus far as well. Down to 13 laps to go in this one.
His final year, he's going to go to the broadcast booth, work for Fox Sports in the first half of the season. But as he steps away, the 47-year-old, 60 career wins, a certain Hall of Famer, as he's got a championship as well. What a career it's been, but that was the big news. The naming of Josh Berry will be behind the wheel of the 4 next year.
Of Harrison Burton, currently in the 18th position, qualified 31st. Really the bright spot for the season for this team has been Darlington. He finished 6th at Darlington. I really think it comes down to qualifying. Like here today, qualified outside the top 30. He's slowly continued to improve. Just over 50 starts, getting more and more comfortable, I think, in this series. And this is another good example of it. Inside the top 20 at past the halfway. And we've documented some of the other Fords that are struggling. So I think a decent run when you look at all the other Fords in the field.
And Austin Cindric, Daytona 500 winner from last year. Kind of a sophomore slump year. It's kind of normal. I don't know why. It seems like the second year is always tough. Austin Cindric today has spent 106 laps off the lead lap, but he got the free pass a little bit. He's got a fast race car. He's got good speed, driving up through the field right now at 20th. So I think Austin is a guy we're going to see move up in this field as this race goes on.
Justin Haley came into this race with a lot of expectations, qualifying third. An excellent qualifying run for them, but they have struggled. They're back in 23rd right now. His teammate, A.J. Allmendinger, is running in the top 10, but you got to have patience with this young man. He is an incredible talent, and this is a young team trying to build around him and his future. I expect him to become a winner on this circuit, if not a champion someday. Maybe not tonight, but it's coming.
Well, a lot of us almost forget the fact that he is a winner already in the Cup Series. He won a rain-shortened race at Daytona at a very young age. He is just 24 years old now.
I'll tell you something, too, and we talked about this a fair amount, but with such limited practice time, if you're going to commit to a young driver, I think you need to commit for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just hard for them to get the experience compared to us. We ran enough practice, like, it's just crazy. I mean, more laps we had when we were developing, plus we had tests. It's just a different world now.
Good little battle right here for 5th place between Toyotas, Christopher Bell and Bubba Wallace. Dave, though, you've caught up with Blaney.
Yeah, best side of the day so far, Ryan Blaney walking out under your own power from the infield care center. Are you okay?
I feel better now. Shame. End our night early. I thought we actually finally got decent there. Started the second stage, and I don't really know what happened. Someone checked up on the restart, I guess, and I kind of checked up and got hit from behind. I didn't know if they were wrecking, and I just couldn't get it straightened out. When I got out of the grass, I thought it was going to come back around and I'd be okay, but it just never got back right. And I don't know why there's no safe barrier there. It's pretty ridiculous, honestly. Hardest state I've ever had in my life. So happy to be all right. Sucks for the Pennzoil Ford Mustang, and yeah, things go home early.
That helpless feeling when you have been hit and you don't have any control, what is that like?
I honestly, I thought I was going to be fine. I really thought I was going to be okay once I got past the grass, back onto the asphalt. I thought it could kind of swing back around when I got off the brake. Just never did. It was just at that weird angle. So, yeah, I thought I could get back on straight until last second. Just never came back.
Glad you're okay.
Great to hear from Ryan Blaney. A very scary hit. He points out no safer barrier. But Rick, you pointed out safety updates to this next-gen car. Safety was a big conversation last year, like rear impacts. You know, we saw some concussions from some rear impacts. So over the offseason, some updates. So let's take a look at our Toyota virtual car. We'll kind of go through the updates over the offseason. Starts at the back mostly. The rear bumpers, those yellow pieces, they're thinner aluminum, so they would compress a little bit more. But the updates take more than just the bumper. If we go a little bit further into the car, we're going to take the rear clip off. You see the red upper and lower bars. The upper bar removed completely to allow this to compress more. Down bottom, it's replaced with a bar with a pre-bent area, trying to give it a place for the force to go. Also, the back of the car itself, we'll get the gearbox out of the way. The upper red bars, once again, removed, unnecessary. Lower bars replaced with a thinner wall tubing. They're needed the way the gearbox mounts on this car. And then it continues even into this year. We saw that big accident with Kyle Larson at Talladega with the right side door bars moved around. The teams had the option of adding more gussets. You see the kind of wedge-shaped pieces between the bars. Well, here's some green ones. Those are now optional. You're allowed to add those as a team. Most teams have done it. And then at the front of the car, which is very important for Ryan Blaney, this red V. It was there for structure to hold the car, make it drive better. It's now not allowed. It's removed, allowing that front clip to compress. And actually in a couple weeks, there'll be a whole nother set of front clip updates required for Atlanta. So as Jeff likes to say, safety is an evolution. It never ends. Continuing to move. There'll be more updates in a couple weeks. Thank goodness I mean, you see how hard that hit is. It is breathtaking. Continue to make adjustments to this car, but those are everything that's been done between last year and now.
Big hit there, and Ryan Blaney in the playoffs already after the win in Charlotte. But
lap and a half to go now in stage 2 as Denny Hamlin continues to lead. Martin Truex Jr. not that far behind him, still within about 2 car lengths as he runs the outside, trying to get a little bit of momentum surge off turn 4 as they come to the final lap of stage 2. Ross Chastain is up to 3rd place as he caught and passed Byron a little bit ago and now is within about 0.6 of a second behind the top 2 in front of him, though I don't think he's going to have enough time to get by either one. And in fact, I don't think the positions are going to change at all within these top 3 at all, because I don't think Truex is going to be quite close enough to get by Hamlin into turns 3 and 4 as well. He's going to drive it in pretty deep onto the outside lane, trying to get a chance to get to the 11 car, and he does close into the back bumper, but he's not going to be able to get underneath them. Maybe another lap or so, he might have had a chance. Checkered flag is in the air, green-white checkered flag that is, and Denny Hamlin wins stage 2 at Nashville. Martin Truex Jr. in 2nd. Ross Chastain finishes 3rd, William Byron 4th, and Christopher Bell rounds out the top 5 in the stage. Bubba Wallace 6th, Chase Elliott 7th, AJ Allmendinger 8th, Kevin Harvick 9th, and Eric Jones rounds out the top 10 in the stage. We're going to end the poll in the chat now. 213 votes were casted. Other won the vote, so you think somebody other than Truex, Chastain, or Reddick will win today's race. Thanks for everybody that did end up voting. TRG Tornado, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, race still going on. It didn't start till 7 o'clock. It was a late start today. Night race at Nashville. I need to get to my fantasy team real quick before that closes. Because it closes at the end of stage 2, and I can't remember who's in my... Oh, Reddick's in my garage. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Reddick's in my garage. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Had that tire issue earlier. No stage points for Logano. Yeesh. Head-to-head, had Hamlin over Elliott and Logano over Bell. It's not looking good. Byron over Blaney, which is looking likely, and Chastain over Wallace. So pretty solid so far on the fantasy team. An update on what the league standings looked like coming into this week. Not an Elliott fan, still leading the points with 30-75. Inside Uranus trying to mount a charge and win the, I think, the 3rd consecutive regular season championship if he can get it done. He had 30-43. P-Chat Motorsports with 29.55 is 3rd. I'm 4th in points with 28.85. And then Dark Crypto is 5th in points with 28.07. So tight battle there within the top 5 as we have 10 races to go in the regular season. 9 after today. Again, if you're not in the league, be sure to join on the NASCAR mobile app or website. It is free to join and a chance to win 2 tickets to any NASCAR race if you're choosing the following season if you win the regular season or playoff championship. Again, 115 laps in this final stage today. The race is official as we have gotten past halfway and to the end of stage 2, so if we do get any rain in the late going, I know there was a threat of that after 10 p.m. Eastern, I think 10 p.m. Central Time maybe? Maybe not Eastern Time. I'm not sure exactly when they're expected to get rain, but they did move the start time up about 20 minutes because of a threat of that so they can try to get the entire race in. 25 cars on the lead lap at the end of stage 2. I do believe Ryan Preece in 26th will be the free pass car during the stage break. This is our 4th caution of the day today. Only 2 for incident. Both were in stage 2 with that Blaney accident after Keselowski did not take off in the restart zone, missed a gear, and then Kyle Busch ran into the back of the 12 car, which spun the 12 out. The 8 slid through the grass as well, but he is still in the race and finished just outside the top 10 there at the end of that 2nd stage. And then Tyler Reddick also brought out the first caution for incident when his right rear tire came off following green flag pit stops in the middle of stage 2 as well. So those are the only 2 incidents so far for Denny Hamlin. Solid stage win for him. Meant to pull up the point standings actually on this screen. I want to see how many stage wins that gives Hamlin on the year. And that is going to be the 4th stage win of the year for Denny Hamlin. Here are the leaders into the pits.
Off, the crew asked him, what does he need most? Clean air. They'll say, we get clear track for you. That means a fast pit stop. Dave.
Though Denny Hamlin was leading, he said, I still can't get it to the bottom in 3 and 4 without arcing it. Air pressure adjustment. Marty.
William Byron told Rudy Fugle, I need something different on these restarts. I have to turn much better if we want to compete on those. Ross Chastain, as the sun went down, the pace of the one car got better, and it picked up. Still a bit tight in three, but the exit is much better. Denny Hamlin.
Hamlin wins the race off pit road with his 4-tire stop. Ty Gibbs up 3 spots, is now in the top 10 for the first time today. I think Kyle Larson gained a couple spots to get back in the top 10 as well there towards the back of the field. Wait to see exactly how the full running order will look like as we get this final stage underway. We're during the Stage 2 break. As usual during the Stage 2 breaks, during live commentary streams, both for the Truck Xfinity and the Cup Series, I give the diecast showing out. So here is an Austin Dillon 2014. It's a rookie Daytona 500 car, Cheerios paint scheme that he ran in the 14 500. Again, his rookie season. You can see the rookie stripes on the back of the car. They kind of blend in with the rest of the yellow on it, so maybe difficult to see there, but they are there on this Chevrolet SS. So cool looking car. I always like the Cheerios schemes over the year, and honestly, this one kind of looks like it's got that Bumblebee looking paint scheme from the Transformer movies. So it always looked pretty cool. I like this Cheerios scheme. It may seem slightly more basic than the old John Andretti or Bobby Labonte 43 car Cheerio paint schemes back in the RPM days, but this one I really liked. So I got this diecast. This is the only Austin Dillon diecast I have, and it's a rookie car nonetheless. And you could actually tell it's the Daytona 500 car too, because it'll say Coors Light pole on the side of it. Of course, he won the pole for his rookie season in the Daytona 500, so one of the few Daytona 500 actual diecast cars I have, not just like the paint schemes that were used during that race, but the actual car itself. So, pretty cool one. That's a 124 scale. All of them that I show every weekend are 124. When I get through all the 124s, then I'll get some of the 164s, some of the OG diecasts I've had since I was a kid, so those will be kind of fun. But I think I still have like 5 more to get out yet, so it'll be a few more weeks before I get into those. Then obviously if I buy any more of those along the way, maybe I'll get another one in Chicago next week, and I'll show that one off the following week at Atlanta. At 124, yeah, it's not 143. Really small, yes. Yeah, it's 124 scale. Did I say that? I thought I did. I think I was talking 43 car, like with the Cheerio schemes. John Andretti used to have some of those schemes back in the day. Alright, so the pit stops are already happened. We're going to end up having a restart here in Stage 3 shortly. Before that happens, we'll take a quick ad break. Thanks for listening and watching. Again, this is the NASCAR Cup Series Ally 400 at the Nashville Superspeedway, and our flag-to-flag coverage continues when we start the final stage here momentarily. Just over 2 hours since the drop of the green flag this evening for the race. End up dropping the green flag right around 7:08 Eastern Standard Time. 7:06 Eastern Standard Time, exactly. From where we're at right now. Parker Kligerman by the fountain in Chicago, downtown. There's people there. There's people walking in the infield where they're going to have the all the haulers and stuff for next weekend's race, Chicago Street Course. Be cool to have some sights and sounds from that race being there in person. This will be some cool, unique videos to put up on YouTube from the grandstands. You guys will get to look at and watch throughout next weekend's action. That race will be on the big NBC, and I believe the Xfinity race will be on the USA Network for next week, if you're wondering what channels to watch those races. So again, your local NBC affiliate for the Cup race on Sunday, I believe that starts at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then also a roughly 5 o'clock start time, 5:30 start time for the Xfinity race on Saturday evening as well. Not sure why they start it late both days, but whatever the case is, they're starting it late. All right, well, Denny Hamlin, Truex are going to be on the front row again. They were side by side for over 3 laps last time before Hamlin was able to get to the lead. Now, Hamlin was on the outside the last time. Truex was on the bottom. Roles reversed this time with Denny down low and Truex up high, so interesting. The control car has taken the bottom lane for the front row of the restart. Every restart in this race today, we saw that for most of the Xfinity and the truck races as well. At times during those races, we saw the drivers that had the choose rule take the outside, but we have not seen that yet in the Cup race with the few restarts we've had because of the lack of cautions in this race compared to the other 2 races this weekend. Pace car will pull onto pit road, and we'll get the final stage underway. We'll have approximately 107 laps to go when they go green, and we are back to racing again as Hamlin leads them to the green to start the final stage. And he is hooked up trying to nail this restart so he can be clear into turns 1 and 2 and not have to battle side by side for a handful of laps. And that will be the case as he moves up in front of the 19. And Chastain quickly to the bottom for second. 3 wide off of turn 2 further back in the pack. Eric Jones might have had some contact with another car. A lot of blocks going on further back around Austin Dillon and Noah Gragson on the back straightaway as they funnel into turn 3. Still 3 wide in the middle of the pack just a little bit right around Kyle Larson. He's got Bubba Wallace underneath him. Austin Cindric had a pit road speeding penalty during the caution flag pit stops as well. He was already a lap down, but now going even further back to the tail end of the field, I guess, as far back as he can go. And I think he actually took the wave around, it looked like. So Cindric took the wave around. He's actually back on the lead lap because we only had 25 cars on the lead lap at the end of that last stage. Priest got the free pass, but then there were some cars that took the wave around. So Cindric got the wave around, but he ended up having a pit road speeding penalty. So he's going to be at the back anyway for the restart, so I guess it didn't really matter or affect him much. Chastain is still underneath of Truex. Hopped out of the gas a little early there, but Truex, for some reason, was not able to clear. I don't know if Chastain maybe grabbed a gear and was able to stay alongside the 19, whatever the case was. They remain door to door, and Truex is not giving Chastain a lot of room on the entry to the corners, although Truex pushes a bit wide on that outside lane off of turn 4. Did the same thing off turn 2 that last lap as well, and that's why Chastain is still able to stay alongside of him, despite the fact that it looks like in the center of the corner, the 19 is a little bit better than the 1. Truex's car maybe not handling quite as well on the outside. I'm not sure exactly what lane Denny Hamlin is running in as well. That could be affecting the airflow in the front of the 19 car. Very close to clearing on the entry to turn 3 as Truex drives it in hard again. Chastain still on that left rear corner panel. Truex with the block now into the tri-oval and is clear as Joe Gibbs Racing holds 1-2 at the front of the field. And then Christopher Bell for JGR is in 4th right behind Chastain. Chastain still working the outside lane trying to mount a charge back after the 19 car. Has a nice run off turn 2, and we'll see if he'll make the dive into 3. He does not. He stays back to the outside again. Truex more towards the middle, slightly defensive line. Showing a replay of Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson battling on track for position. Wallace putting the bumper into the 5 car and clearing him off the exit of turn 4 as Larson went up and out of the groove slightly. So Denny Hamlin has a 0.6 of a second lead over Martin Truex Jr. at the front of the field. 0.9 of a second back is Ross Chastain in 3rd. Christopher Bell in 4th is 1.3 seconds off the lead. And William Byron's 1.7 seconds off the lead in 5th. So that is your running order right now through the top 5 following this early Stage 3 restart. Biggest movers from the start of the race, Suarez, who remember had to start in a backup car today, has worked himself into the top 10 for the first time on speed. He is up to the 8th place position following the start of this final stage. He too also gained a few spots on pit road with a very quick pit stop. Had a spin in practice, which caused him to back into the outside, or in qualifying rather, yesterday morning, which caused him to go to a backup car for the start of this race today. It's been a slow climb through the field with the lack of yellows for this one, but Suarez has been able to stay on the lead lap all day. They've done a great job on pit road as well, getting him track position, and he needs a solid run today because he came in 3 points below the cutoff line into this race. Alex Bowman has been outscoring him for most of the day on positions, but Bowman did not get many stage points today, still more than Martin Truex Jr. did. or sorry, still more than Daniel Suarez did, but Daniel Suarez is now in the 8th place position while Bowman's back at 23rd. Bubba Wallace, who is also the next closest driver to Suarez in the point standings as far as drivers ahead of him in points, also scored more stage points than both the 99 and the 48, with finishing 6th in stage 2. So Daniel Suarez trying to get the last lap here and beating both of them in the finishing order, as he's ahead of them both right now as we run. Biggest gainers though since this last restart would be Joey Logano and Kyle Busch, with Logano up 3 spots, Busch up 4, running in the 11th and 19th positions right now, where both of those two drivers, with Joey in 11th, Busch in 19th, and now just passing Stenhouse, it looks like, for 18th. Both RCR cars running in the 17th and 18th place positions, nose to tail with each other. Busch has had a bit of a grind after finishing first in stage 1. He had that pit road speeding penalty at the end of stage 1, and then ended up as a result being mid-pack for when that stack-up happened a couple restarts later, and he ended up for a spin, putting him even deeper in the field. Wonder how hard he hit Blaney. Maybe he put a hole in the nose of that bumper, front bumper, when he hit the 12 car, and maybe that has affected the car aerodynamically all of a sudden, because he hasn't really been back inside the top 15 since. And that happened over 50 laps ago. It wasn't like when he was climbing back through the running order the first time very quickly after having the pit road speeding penalty. Also, back on lap 15, he made an unscheduled pit stop as well, where ended up having a cut on the right front tire. I don't know if he hit a piece of debris or something on the racetrack, but had a cut in the right front tire, had to make an unscheduled stop. Luckily, he was able to stretch on field at the end of the first stage anyway, so it actually worked out better for him. That's how he jumped up to 7th, because he was 10th initially, gained 3 positions by short pitting, and luckily had enough gas to make it to the end of the stage anyway. Everybody will have to pit at least one more time before the end of this race based off of when we started this final stage, so it'll be interesting to see if we end up having those pit stops under green again, which could be a bit of a risk because we had a caution during the last set of green flag pit stops in the middle of stage 2. Update on where the spotlight drivers are running here in the early going of this third stage. Again, your must-have picks. Martin Truex Jr., that I had predicted to at least get a top 10, maybe contend for the win, is in 2nd place. William Byron's in 5th right now. He's been top 5 all day as well. And then Tyler Reddick, who ended up having that right rear tire come off earlier today. He was 2 laps down as a result. He is now 1 lap down after taking the wave around during the stage break, but still in 34th, unfortunately for him. So 2 for 1 there. Reddick was my pick to win also, so that stings. Had a fast car. He won stage 1. Would have been 2nd at the time of that right rear tire coming off, following green flag stops if it didn't come off. So that's where they're running. The sleeper picks today. Eric Jones in 10th. I predicted maybe a top 10 finish for him, and based off of how good that car was in practice and where he finished in this race last year with the 43 team, and that's about where he's running again here this year, back half of the top 10. He's been pretty much in that 10th place position for most of the second half of this race so far, so solid pick up to this point there. Ross Chastain's in 3rd place, and then Bubba Wallace was in 6th at the end of stage 2, but he's fallen back to 15th at the beginning of stage 3. I do think he had a slightly slower pit stop, lost some time there, and also losing a handful of positions on the restart didn't help either. He kind of fallen back to about where he was running for most of stage 1 after qualifying in the top 10 today. The don't have picks. All the drivers who are predicted to not finish in the top 10 are still all running outside the top 10. Kyle Busch at 18th, Justin Haley in 23rd, and Daniel Suarez is in 8th, so actually he is in. So 7 for 9 on those picks up to this point, and we'll see how those will hold up throughout the rest of this race. They're under a NASCAR nonstop commercial break as of right now, with just over 90 laps to go. Larson and Wallace battling again side by side. Nighttime skies at Nashville to this point in the race. Track temps much cooler than what they were at the start. Heat index was 98 degrees at the start of the race today. Air temps in the upper 80s. I think it was about 88, 89 at the start of the race too. So slightly warmer than what it was during the Xfinity race yesterday, but definitely much cooled off at this time in the day. We are at 116 likes on the stream, over 160 people watched. Our goal is 150 likes, so be sure to hit that like button if you haven't done so already. We need to get to our goal before the end of the stream. We're 34 likes away, and we still have about 90 laps to go. Once again, your top 10 to this point in the race. Denny Hamlin is the race leader. Martin Truex Jr. is in second, 2/10 back. Ross Chastain's in third place, 1.2 seconds off the lead. Christopher Bell is 3.5 seconds off the lead in fourth. And Kevin Harvick is now up to fifth place, 3.8 seconds off the lead. This is the first time he's been in the top 5 today. William Byron is falling back to sixth on the restart. He is 4.9 seconds back. 5.4 seconds off the lead is Chase Elliott at 7th, which is about where he's ran most of the day. Daniel Suarez again up to 8th place now, 6.8 seconds off the lead. Ty Gibbs with his best run of the day to this point at 9th. He is 7.2 seconds off the race lead, and Eric Jones is 7.8 seconds off the race lead in 10th.
And Martin Truex Jr. 1 and 2 separated by about a quarter of a second. A little further back in the field. And it hasn't been the season that Eric Almirola was hoping when he came back after discussing retirement a year ago. He was looking for Eric Almirola running 26th right now and only one top 10 this year. And I know the question has come up, will he continue on? Or will maybe this year be his final year competing? Wants to spend a little more time with the family. But Smithfield really pulled him back in behind the wheel. Really like that relationship that they have with Eric.
Well, the struggle for Eric really has been the Stewart-Haas racing issue in general. The 14 of Chase Briscoe currently 31st in the free pass position. Big news out of this team this week is John Klossmeyer was replaced with this man, Richard Boswell. Richard and Chase having success together in the Xfinity Series. They won 8 races together. This is for the first Cup race for Boswell. Greg Zipadelli was asked about this. He's in charge of competition at Stewart-Haas Racing, and he said, I think Richard Boswell's the right guy because he's going to hold Chase Briscoe accountable. Not that he isn't doing the right things, but somebody needs to make sure he has everything, Marty, he needs as a race car driver. Everyone needs oversight, and that's what Greg Zipadelli thinks Richard Boswell will bring the driver of the 14.
And Steve, I found it funny on day 2 that Richard Boswell was Chase Briscoe's crew chief on the Cup side. He sent him a text, and then the text, it was a kid and a tidal wave. The meaning, I'm drinking through a fire hose with all the information that I get on the 14 team and on the Cup side as well. But he also said, we've taken some principles from our Xfinity Series days, and we've applied that to the Cup Series car. We'll see if it works. I think it will.
You see in the lower screen, Austin Dillon, it's not really been a clean year for Austin Dillon. 5 DNFs. They had that huge penalty. That's really hurt them in the points. Austin Dillon sitting there running 16th tonight, a solid run. His teammate right there with him on speed. So Austin and his team, they just need a turnaround, but they are definitely going to need a win if they're going to make the playoffs.
Another driver is going to need a win to make the playoffs. This 41 car of Ryan Priest, qualified 25th tonight, sitting in 21st position. Had a great run at Martinsville, got on the pole there, led 141 laps, but no top 5s this year, no top 10s. It's been a tough season for Stewart-Haas, as we mentioned, but I think that they have the talent behind the wheel in all of their race cars. Just a matter of time before this team gets it going. We've mentioned the struggles that Ford has had this year. They're not immune to it. As the battle for the lead continues to heat up, Truex seems like he's a little quicker, just can't really find the clean air he needs. You can see him every once in a while getting some runs, taking some jabs. Not ready to throw that right hook yet.
Yeah, he keeps searching. He'll go a little higher, about a half a car length higher than what Denny Hamlin will run. And then sometimes he'll duck down low and see if the lower line helps him gain any position. He's gotten all the way up to about a 1/10 of a second behind, but now drops back to about a quarter of a second.
I feel like Denny Hamlin and this team, I don't think they've gotten the finishes that represent how fast they've run. I feel like this is a little bit of an underappreciated team this year. They're really fast every week. Seems like they've had a lot of problems late in races, and it wouldn't surprise me to see them go win 3 or 4 before the playoffs start. Just have a lot of speed in this car.
82 remaining. They still have to come to pit road at least one more time as Denny Hamlin out in front of Martin Truex Jr. 82 to go.
So 82 laps left, as you heard, in this race for the Ally 400 at the Nashville Superspeedway. We'll have 9 races to go in the regular season for the NASCAR Cup Series following this race today. A few road courses. You got Chicago coming up on the schedule, of course, next weekend. And then they're back on another Superspeedway at Atlanta for the second time this year in that hybrid Superspeedway of a 1.5 mile configuration. We saw that race earlier this year. Joey Logano got his only win of the season there, so we'll see if he can go for the sweep. Pocono still before the end of the month. I think they have Richmond in July as well. We roll over into August, Michigan, and then they have back-to-back road course races with Indianapolis, Watkins Glen on the schedule before the regular season finale at Daytona. So those are the races remaining. New Hampshire also in there in July. I skipped New Hampshire, my bad. But those are the 9 races remaining before the playoffs begin. There's already been 9 different winners so far this season, so we still could have a possibility of getting 16 different winners, although we've seen more repeat winners to this point this season than what we saw in the first year of the Next Gen car last year. Still some drivers, though, that are running up towards the front of the field in this race that haven't won yet. Both Ross Chastain and Kevin Harvick are in the top 5 right now. Harvick is really turning it on here in the late going into this race. He's someone to keep an eye on. He has actually ran faster lap times than any of the top 3 cars in front of him, so an impressive run right now for Kevin. He's the only Ford inside the top 10 up to this point in the race as well, and wasn't running good for the start, but out of nowhere, not only got into the top 10 for the first time today following this last restart, but now is up to 4th and trying to get a move on the leaders. Ross Chastain is slowly closing that gap on the leaders as well. He's now 0.6 of a second off the lead. He too has been faster than both the 19 and the 11. I think it could be possible that the 19 is getting held up by the 11 with Hamlin having the clean air advantage and Truex in the dirty air not really able to get around him as a result, because Truex was setting some of the fastest laps of the race up to this point while he was out in front. In fact, I think he does have the fastest lap of the race of a 30.226 early in the run. We've seen about a second of fall off to this point in the run already after about 30 laps or so, because that lap time has dropped down to a 30.9, and this is with the most grip on the racetrack, of course, from the track specifically speaking, with them being in the nighttime skies. Cooler temps usually gives the track more grip versus when it's sunnier outside like we had earlier in the heat of the day. So a little day to night transition with this race. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is a left-hander, showing some of the NASCAR drivers' golf skills, I guess. I've heard Stenhouse is a good golfer. As of Denny Hamlin's podcast, he thinks that Stenhouse is like the best golfer out there. I didn't know he was a lefty, though. What's the net? Oh, wait, what was that? No. Gonna do when I'm done with NASCAR 7, NASCAR 08. Just moving on with the games there. We do have our Truck Series Championship race at Talladega on NASCAR 7 coming up later this week, so you'll want to tune in for that. Fuel window is open to be able to make it to the end of this race because Kyle Busch is able to go just over 75 laps back at stage 1, so we'll see if anybody tries to short pay to make up a little bit of ground there. It could be obviously at a big risk because we saw this flip the running order back in the last stage when this happened. And we got a battle for second going on right now. Off turn 4, Chastain had a massive run on Martin Truex Jr., ran him down, clears him into turns 1 and 2. Chastain going to slide up the racetrack, taking the line away of Truex, but he was easily clear in the center of the corner. Probably didn't even have to send it in that deep to clear him. If anything, that might have allowed Truex to get back to the back bumper of the 1 car just a little bit closer, but he's got nothing for him in turns 3 and 4. So Ross Chastain back up to P2. His car's coming to life late in the run. And Kevin Harvick now has trimmed his gap behind race leader Denny Hamlin down to 1.8 seconds at last lap. Again, Chastain and Harvick were the 2 fastest on the track, as I mentioned during that commercial break, that was the case, and it's still the case even following the commercial break with 72 laps to go. So we'll see if we could see that first win in the win column for either of those 2 drivers. In fact, 5 drivers inside the top 10 right now are without a win. The 8th, 9th, and 10th place drivers of Daniel Suarez, Ty Gibbs, and Eric Jones also without a win this season. Keselowski in 11th without a win, so 6 of the top 11 still winless, so we could see another new winner in today's race. And Chastain is closing on his arch nemesis Denny Hamlin all of a sudden as they are about to battle for the race lead. Truex couldn't get the job done. He's starting to lose Hamlin just a little bit over the course of the run, but Chastain is not. Chastain down to the bottom lane of the racetrack. His tires start to fall off. The passing may become more likely to happen with the faster cars at this point in the run versus earlier in the run when everybody's got the grip. Hamlin washes up the racetrack, maybe a little too far wide in 1 and 2. Chastain didn't go all the way down to the yellow line, but did run more in the middle groove below Hamlin. Into turns 3 and 4. Denny's now going to move to the bottom. Chastain's going to go to the top, and this could give Chastain the run off turn 4 needed to try to pull alongside Denny Hamlin. Off the exit of turn 4. Chastain's got to run, looking low. Hamlin tried to block. He can't do it. Chastain side drafts Denny Hamlin now. And he'll clear him into turn 1 as he's going to slide up the racetrack. Denny Hamlin's going to try to overtake him for the race lead once again, but he just does not have the car capability he did earlier in the run. And Ross Chastain is back out in front for the first time since leading the first 54 laps of the race, as he is coming to life on the long run. We mentioned all the way back in the pre-race that he had the fastest 15 to 20 lap averages in practice. It was the long run where he shined. We haven't seen that in the race up to this point, though, until now. And Ross Chastain, in the nighttime, it's the right time for him as he is looking to try and pull away and get that first win of 2023. Kevin Harvick, who I mentioned was also starting to close the charge, is now 1.1 seconds off the race lead, but he's got to get by the 19 and the 11 before he can catch the 1, and that might allow the 1 to be able to get out ahead far enough before Harvick can get up there. But this could be a battle between the 1 and the 4 as we see a potential longer green flag run in the final stage. We still have everybody having to pit one more time before the checkered flag waves today, at least one more time with green flag stops potentially coming up, so it's all on the focus for these drivers not to make a mistake. We did see one driver miss pit road almost completely with Michael McDowell as he missed the commitment line, had to come back in with the pass-through penalty. We saw a few speeding penalties today. Harvick had a speeding penalty. Kyle Busch had a speeding penalty. We saw Austin Cindric with a penalty at one point today, so they have happened. Can't afford that mistake this late in the going. William Byron now to the inside of Christopher Bell as they battle for 6. Byron was falling behind a little bit, but Bell is starting to fade. Toyota's fading on the longer run. So what we saw in practice on Friday evening is about what we're seeing at this point in the race, but we hadn't seen this up to this point in the race until now, where the Chevrolets are starting to turn it on the long run. The Toyotas are fading back. Most of the season, it's been the Toyotas which have been strong in the long runs. That's why they've been so good on the intermediate tracks, because we haven't seen that many cautions on this style of racing this season. And then the short runs have been where the Chevys have shined. That's where Byron was able to get 2 wins on intermediate tracks. Larson, even on the short tracks and the short runs, was able to get a couple wins early in the year, plus winning the All-Star race. So now all of a sudden roles are reversed for this one, where the bow ties are coming to life here. Chase Elliott also breaking into the top 5 for the first time now in recent laps, so it's another Chevy moving his way up the leaderboard. He just passed William Byron a lap or 2 after Byron got by Christopher Bell, and they continue to move forward. Eric Jones, another Chevy, he has gained a spot. Daniel Suarez, though, is falling back a little bit, as it looks like Jones is up to 9th. Suarez actually on pit road. I think he was the first car to hit the pits, so this may bring more drivers in as this continues on. It'll be an interesting development, and I'm sure we're going to get more of the green flag pit stops when they come back from their NASCAR nonstop commercial break. We will stay right here with our coverage, though. We will not take any breaks of our own, and you'll get to listen in to this live commentary coverage as we get closer and closer to the finish of this race. So again, one more pit stop still remains, and we'll see who can get on and off of pit road the best, who will be the team to bring their driver onto pit road sooner and try to capitalize on getting those fresh tires on quicker. Again, we've seen over a second of fall off to this point in the run. Truex finally catching Denny Hamlin as he gets to the inside. They're 1 and 2, almost into the back bumper of Hamlin off the exit of the corner. Truex going to go to the outside now this time, as the inside was just not enough, and he slipped up the track too far, and Hamlin's going to gap him in turns 3 and 4 as they battle for second. Chastain is pulling away now, over a second and a half ahead of the 11. Kevin Harvick onto pit road that last time by Truex, back to the bottom for second again on Denny Hamlin, all the way down to the yellow line. Hamlin up maybe a little too far wide that time, and Harvick is coming to pit road because he's slow. There is an issue with Kevin Harvick's race car. He is slow. He is on the apron, and it looks like the right rear tire is flat on Kevin Harvick's car. He made his way up to 4th. He was having his best run of the day to this point, and now Harvick having to limp his car all the way back around to pit road. We still stay under green flag conditions, but again, problems for Kevin Harvick with the right rear tire coming apart. And he is dragging that rear diffuser on the racetrack as well. He has made his way to the access road in turns 3 and 4 and should be able to get to pit road here any moment. That carcass has not come off the race car, and no debris on the right rear fender as well, so luckily they should be able to get the right side replaced, but a lot of time lost having to go the full length of the racetrack at a very slow pace under green flag conditions, and this will likely take Harvick out of a good finish, knowing that we are in the final 60 laps. Chase Elliott is one of the first onto pit road.
Also said just a little bit loose in the back end, so detrimental for this team who was running so well, Dave.
Chase Elliott comes in for his pit stop. He said the right rear feels a little frothy, but that's still better than it was the last run. He's gone.
So it looked like one of the lug on that right side of the 9 must have come off the belt of maybe the changer, because it was sitting right next to the car when he came off of pit road as the 19 gets work done, Kim.
And Martin firmly telling his team, I am still tight center, loose off, air pressure adjustment on 4 tires, Sunoco fuel for Martin Truex Jr.
Now it's basically how quick will Chastain and Hamlin follow. I can't imagine the one's going to stay. No, he's going to pit this time by. He knows he cannot give Truex multiple laps on fresh tires. Now it's up to the pit crew of the 1. You see Hamlin right behind him at the top of your screen. 59 to go. If it goes green, this will be the last expected pit stop. Dave.
Oh, the race on pit road. Who can get it? The JGR crew goes to work for Denny Hamlin. His car is just about where he wants it to be. Air pressure adjustment, if anything, Marty.
Ross Chastain told me earlier this weekend I want to get better at telling Phil Surgeon what to do for an adjustment on the last stop. He said it's a little too free on exit. That's my biggest complaint. More fresh figure tires and a quick stop by the 1 should cycle out still with the lead.
All right, so the 1 is definitely out in front of the 11. We're looking to our left. Here's Martin Truex Jr. Already serviced his car. He's going to go down into turn 1. Newer tires on the left. He's going to get in front of the 11, which I think is going to be a huge advantage for the 19, because I think he was getting held up by his teammate at times, but the 1 of Chastain has blended off in front of the 19, so as cycle continues, Chastain should be the leader. Let's check this gap right here. I'm not going to give it a number, big number, 30 car lengths. I mean, that's a bigger gap than he had, so great job by the 1 team and the driver on and off pit road.
That number 1 pit stall, very helpful for Ross Chastain and their crew.
They are in the top 5 of best average stops all year long. They were the best team last year on pit road by a long shot. So impressive stop when they need it the most.
And Chastain's one of those drivers that has not been to victory lane this year. Could add his name to the list of drivers into the playoffs. Riding along the Hunt brothers.
Still waiting on Brad Keselowski, Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, Noah Gregson, Joey Logano, and a couple others to hit pit road. Bell currently leads this race for the first time tonight while he is waiting to make his final stop. And Bell is actually in the pits right now.
You know, so I guess, you know, you take what you can. Dave.
So is Logano.
Christopher Bell is on pit road. He heard from his crew chief, Adam Stevens. We see what you are fighting. They have some data they can look at. They made a chassis adjustment. 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel. Joey Logano just in past them. That car has been struggling. Most recently, the car was a little bit tight for Joey Logano. They'll get 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel as well.
You see on the left.
Keselowski, Busch, Bowman, Gregson still out ahead of race leaders Ross Chastain and Martin Truex Jr., who have yet to hit the pits. I almost took Chastain to win the race today, and I was like, you know what? I'm feeling more Tyler Reddick. I feel like he had a better car, and he did have a better car when they were going toe-to-toe, at least earlier in the daytime. No way of telling if that still would have been the case in the night, especially because we've seen the Toyotas fall off a little bit now that it's gotten into the night anyway. So maybe for the same it could have been for Reddick. We'll never know, but obviously having that tire issue for Tyler Reddick definitely took him out of contention. Keselowski's now in the pits.
This should be the last stop of the night. We do not need to put ourselves behind anymore.
Clean stop.
This will cycle Kyle Busch to the race lead now for the first time today during green flag stops. He'll stay out this time by as he works his way off turn 4. Alex Bowman's about 6 seconds behind him in second, and then Gragson in third. So Ross Chastain has about a 1.2 second gap between himself and Martin Truex Jr. right now. It's going to be who can navigate themselves through lap traffic better will ultimately have the shot to win this race at the very end. It'll be fun to watch between those two drivers on who will exactly be able to get it done.
Thinking here, same for Bowman and Gragson. You see a little bit on the left side, the split. You see Chastain and Truex, you know, still 4th and 5th. Hamlin 6th. They'll cycle to the front.
Will that be a situation if they get to Gragson, the second he gets passed by Chastain, would that indicate, hey, I need to come to pit road now?
So two things. Getting past is really just for, you know, it's just for position. It's not a lap. So a couple things go into this. They also have a predictive software that says where they'll blend back on the racetrack, and you don't want to get blended back into a big clump of traffic. So, you know, when I think of just time, you know, lost or gained, these guys have some very predictive programs letting them know what's the best time to come to pit road. You see on the left, Gregson's come to pit road.
Now it's just Busch and Bowman that are in front of Chastain, who has already been to pit road. Chastain's teammate, Daniel Suarez, has two.
All right, so another commercial break, it looks like, coming up on NBC. Still waiting on Alex Bowman, Kyle Busch to hit the pits. Gragson just came in after Chastain was working his way closer to him. Chastain still with about a 1 second gap over Martin Truex Jr. That'll be the eventual battle for the race lead. Truex is about 4 seconds ahead of Denny Hamlin, the next closest driver for position behind him. So we'll see how, again, this is all going to shake up. As of right now, Kyle Busch is your race leader. We'll wait to go through the full field running order until after everybody cycles through pit road. It'll be a little easier. We have 10 cars on the lead lap as we run right now. We'll take our final break of the race here on the YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. We are 24 likes away from our goal of 150. We have over 180 people watching right now. So again, like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content, and we'll take you to the finish of this race. So I had a 4 out of 5 round robin on some head-to-heads. They finally made it available to actually parlay them together on BetMGM. I need to look to see how that's doing right now. I haven't checked it at all yet in this race. I took a screenshot of it because I knew I was probably going to forget. I remember I had Hamlin over Elliott. That's really close right now. Hamlin's beating Elliott for now, but they're within a couple seconds of each other. I remember having Stenhouse beating Suarez, which isn't the case right now either. Logano beating Bell, that's probably not going to happen. Yeah, I'm probably not going to hit on 3 of the 4. Logano's fell way back. I had Bell over Logano too, and I ended up flip-flopping it. Byron already beat Blaney. Blaney's in the garage. Chastain beating Wallace likely going to happen. Hamlin over... Man, if I didn't swap out the Logano and Elliott one, I think I'd end up winning it. But I swapped them out, and now it's not looking very likely. That was my bad on that one. Well, you win some and you lose some. Today I lost some. It happens. Busch and Bowman still out on the racetrack, by the way. They went green with about 107 or 108 laps to go. We haven't had a caution for incident in the final stage yet. So we saw Busch go about 75 laps, give or take, back at stage 1 on fuel. Pretty much exactly 75 laps. So if they were looking at that being the window for him to run out there for, he would end up having to hit the pits probably in the next, or really any given moment, actually. He's like right at that 75 lap marker to this point in the run. They are back from the commercial break to this point. And it looks like Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman are on their way to pit road this time. Why is this not full screen? I can't get it full screen anymore. What's going on? I accidentally changed the channel on myself and there we go. Now I got full screen. Bowman actually still out on the racetrack, but Kyle Busch did come in. So Kyle Busch is on pit road. Bowman leading out for the first time today. The gap is starting to tighten up between the 1 and the 19 as well. Remember, Chastain was starting to come alive more in the long run the last time by Martin Truex Jr. on the short run. So that is part of the reason why Truex is maybe running down the 1 car, and he may have to get around him as quickly as possible, knowing that the 1 could end up coming back to life again. It is also very well possible that Truex was getting held up by Hamlin most of that last run. Chastain caught past the 19 and past the 11 a little bit sooner. Showed a replay of Kyle Busch coming into the pits, and he almost missed pit road. Trying to get his way in. Coming in a little too hot. I don't think he got penalized. I do think he did have all 4 tires down below the cone at the edge of that commitment line. Bowman is about 4 seconds ahead of Ross Chastain right now, with 39 laps to go.
The run before this, right? Drove up through there, took the lead. And now, as we get into this run further, do you think that Truex has made the adjustments to be able to match anything the 1's doing late in the run? Truex has closed in on him. He'll run a lap that's faster than the 1 will outrun the 19. It's kind of back and forth right now. Traffic, though, a lot of cars right there in front of them. All of that's going to make things challenging for both drivers.
Let's take a look at the progressive telemetry.
Watching miles per hour down the back straightaway. You heard him shift gears to 5th gear right there. 174 miles an hour, some brake.
Use a lot of brake at this track. You wouldn't think that a big old racetrack like this with this much braking, there's not a lot of grip in the corners.
Guys, I'm going to lean on this telemetry right here for Progressive next week in Chicago to figure out what gears and what corners, right? Street course we've never seen, just no history about where they're going to be shifting.
Truex, get close right there. This dirty air from that lap traffic is going to make things tough for the 1. It's going to present opportunities for Martin.
What is Martin learning right now, running behind this 1? Is he watching him? Is he seeing the lines that he's running, trying to figure out where he can take advantage of the different lines that Ross Chastain takes?
Well, Martin knows where his car needs to be better, right? And he's watching Chastain saying, okay, where is Chastain's strengths and where are my weaknesses? To direct his team, if he gets another change of what to do to the car. But if you don't get another change, what can I do as a driver to try to influence my car to get the little bit of speed that I need?
Laps winding down. 36 to go from Nashville. Martin Truex Jr. running 2nd. Ross Chastain out front.
Another break there on NBC. NASCAR Nonstop will keep our coverage rolling. And you'll listen to me from here on out here for these final 35 laps. Hopefully we stay green to the finish, because this could be a wild one between the 1 and the 19 to that checkered flag. They are very close to each other. They're 4 seconds or more ahead of Hamlin on back. Hamlin's actually got about a 3-second gap over Chase Elliott in 5th. Byron trying to run down the 9 car. Closest battle inside the top 10 outside of the battle for the eventual race lead would be the battle for 7th between Bell and Larson. They're within just a few tenths of a second of each other. And outside of that, there's more than a second difference between every increment of positions inside the top 10, both in front and behind them. Again, outside of the 1 and the 19. So this is definitely going to be tight here. We'll see if Truex can keep up with Chastain over the course of the long run. Who can navigate through the lap traffic better? The dirty air is definitely going to be hurting the 1 car. For right now, the first lap car he's about to catch here in recent laps just ran the top lane while Chastain ran the bottom, which is going to help that 1 out a little bit. And it did help him run a slightly quicker lap. He was about a 10th quicker than Martin Truex Jr. that last time by. So we are down to 32 laps to go. No brake rotor issues at all in today's race. Good to see. We saw that a lot on the last oval with heavy braking at Gateway. Not quite as violent here, obviously, with the bank corners versus Gateway being a flatter racetrack. Alex Bowman just hit the pits that last time by, so now Chastain has officially cycled back into the race lead. Quite a few different leaders in this race. A lot of them, though, during green flag pit stops, but even still. It looks like we have had a total of 12 different leaders in this one thus far. And we've had 22 lead changes to this point as well. And we may not have seen the last, depending on how much pressure Truex could put to Chastain. Now, there are cars in both the top and the bottom lane in front of Ross, which has really held him up that last time by through the front stretch. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the last car in the lead lap. Chastain trying to get by him on the backstretch as they go to the outside. 31 laps to go. Chastain into the corner. Truex wiggled a lot in the outside that time as the wake of the dirty air from the 1 car taking his line away. Truex had nowhere to go but to try to follow him. And now he's struggling to get by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as he has to go to the bottom, drive it in very deep into turn 1 to make sure he was going to clear the 47. It does look like Chastain is maybe a little too tight off the exit of the corners compared to the 19 car. Off turn 2, it looked like Truex had a slightly lower exit to the corner than what the 1 did. The problem is that Stenhouse got back to the hit side of Truex into 3 and 4 and held the 19 up a little bit more again. Now, he is trying to stay in the free pass position as long as he possibly can because Eric Almirola is now the last car in the lead lap and in danger of going a lap down, which would boot Stenhouse out of the free pass spot if we do stay green to the finish. .29 laps left. Now, if we were to get a caution before the end of the race, it'd be interesting to see who would pit and who wouldn't pit. We saw this kind of a similar situation in the Xfinity race yesterday for the overtime restart. But the right call was to stay out in that one, which ended up guaranteeing quite a few drivers the win. I would imagine that would have to be the same winning call today if we only have a couple laps left. But if it's in a situation like now where we're going to have quite a few laps left, it'll be interesting to see if somebody maybe tries to take a gamble by either staying out or taking right sides only, because it has been difficult to pass here today. Probably more than what I thought it was going to be at the start of the race today with the multi-groove racing. But I guess the track not quite as wide as some of the other intermediates on the schedule, which is why we haven't quite seen it be more applicable in today's race versus other races we've seen this season on banked intermediate ovals. So Ross Chastain with a 0.3 of a second lead still over Truex. Truex hasn't slipped really further behind than that. Denny Hamlin is still about 3.5 seconds behind the 19 car. It'll be interesting to see if the 1 and the 19 can get side by side, if Hamlin can really start to narrow that gap down even more. That last lap, he was about 0.2 slower than the leaders, so still not running laps quick enough. Chase Elliott in 4th is running slightly quicker than Hamlin, though. And may close that gap down for 30. He was 4 seconds behind him. Now he's about 2 seconds behind the 11, so that battle for 3rd place could start to intensify. Remember, Chase Elliott, another driver who is more than likely in a must-win situation to make it into the playoffs, so if he gets in contention with a late caution, don't count Elliott out of it yet either. Truex closing again that last lap with Eric Almirola right in front of the race leaders. Chastain's going to have to pick a lane. He's going to try to pick the outside lane It was the right lane to go to because that is where the 10 was. He's going to move up in the middle of the corner, trying to take the line away of Truex. And Truex had to get out of the gas to keep from running into the back of the 1 and maybe wrecking both cars that last time through 1 and 2. Truex so much stronger on his drive in on corner entry that time. Chastain still can't get by the 10 of Eric Almirola. We're down to 24 laps to go. That last lap, Hamlin was about a 10th quicker than the leaders, but that is because of all the dirty air from the lap traffic. Because not only Almirola is right in front of Ross Chastain, but also it does seem as if Justin Haley's right there as well. Another NASCAR nonstop commercial. They've been taking like 3 NASCAR nonstop commercials since the green flag stops right around 50 to go, I've noticed. So at least they're side by side. I'll give them that. But quite a bit here at the end of the race. I guess we haven't had many cautions to air them throughout the middle portion. It is on big NBC too, so I guess that happens a lot when they're on the main networks. Well, now the lap cars are back to being side by side again right in front of Chastain. He's got nowhere to go. The good news is for Chastain is that Alex Bowman on much fresher tires than the 48 just passed the 19. He's going to look to try to get his lap back. Chastain goes up the middle 3 wide, splitting the lap cars. That's one way to do it. And that's going to help him gap Martin Truex Jr. by quite a wide margin this time. Almirola still trying to side draft the 1 car as he tries to stay on the lead lap as long as he can. Alex Bowman, a much fresher tire, still going to try to look to make a run at Chastain. Chastain clears the 10 off turn 2, and here comes the 48 of Bowman right behind. He'll get by Almirola pretty easily down the backstretch. And I think if you're Martin Truex Jr., you have to be hoping that Bowman takes a while to get by Chastain, and that could maybe hold the 1 car up just a little bit more. Fighting the elements of my allergy. Sorry for that one. I had to get up for a second. I've been terrible all day today. Ever since I took that first step outside. it was a big mistake. In the air conditioning, I was fine. But even since getting back into the air conditioning, it has not settled down. Maybe a little bit. It wasn't as bad as what it was when I was outside. I'm having sneezing attacks every 5 minutes, but it was not a great time to step away. I couldn't air the race when I walked away because they're still under the commercial break. Got 19 laps to go this time by. Alex Bowman is on the inside of Chastain. Has been running side by side for about a half a lap with him. He's going to clear the 1. Now, how will the dirty air affect the 1 car now that Bowman has cleared him? Chastain's going to have to hope to try to pick a different line than him. He did start pulling away from Martin Truex Jr. just a little bit. Truex took a little bit longer to get through the lap cars of Eric Almirola once Chastain got by, as well as Justin Haley, who also went a lap down in recent laps. Actually, Haley's still out in front of the 48 car still. It was Almirola, and then there was somebody else that went a second lap down that kind of held the 1 car up. I don't know who that was. It looks like it was a 51 of J.J. Yaley, but bold move by Chastain, but it was something he knew he needed to do to try to gap the 19 just a little bit more. And that's more breathing room and more time Truex is going to have to take to just try to run down the 1 car to get back into contention to maybe passing him again. Truex was about a 10th quicker that last lap, cut the lead from 0.7 of a second down to 0.6 of a second down as we approach 17 laps to go. Justin Haley's the last car in the lead lap after Alex Bowman has just passed him. Haley to the outside lane. Bowman was there, though. But he had to go there because Haley was much closer in front of the 1. We'll see Haley just kind of pull out of the way. He'll let Chastain go and try to let the leaders race on. Bowman on much fresher tires is not going to do that, but the further away he pulls the 1 car of Chastain, the less likely the dirty air is going to affect the 1. So that's the good news for Chastain. Kyle Larson's up to 6th place. He just passed Christopher Bell a few laps ago, it looked like. So you got 300 Chevrolets running 4th, 5th, and 6th. And then Bowman, who just pitted after running long, is the last car in the lead lap at 21st. And he lost some track position running out as long as he did because he was just outside the top 10 before that. Good recovery for Ryan Preece, by the way. He's 16th right now. He was 26th a lap down at the end of stage 2. Got the free pass, and he's gained about 10 positions since then. So they've tried to work on that car on speed at the start of the race. They were right around 30th where they've been for most of these intermediate tracks. Both him and Chase Briscoe, pretty much any intermediate track this season, they've been like 30th or worse on speed at the start. And it seems like by the end they can get themselves up inside the top 15. For Briscoe, that is not the case today. He's still 2 laps down at 31st, but for Ryan Preece, they have worked on it enough and at least made him capable of having a lead lap finish and maybe a top 15 if he can catch Bubba Wallace here in the closing laps. 0.7 of a second difference right now. Again, Chastain kind of about a 10th quicker or so, maybe not even that much quicker than Truex the last lap, but he was quicker nonetheless. Denny Hamlin's still 4 seconds off the lead in third. And Chase Elliott's still slowly running down the 11 car. They're now just about 0.8 of a second off of each other, so there's a good chance Chase is going to catch Hamlin in a battle for third here in these closing laps, as we're down to just 13 laps to go. We have not had a caution in the final stage. We had our only 2 cautions for incident in stage 2, as the first 90 laps during stage 1 went caution-free as well. Cycled through green flag pit stops twice, and one of the cautions that we had for incident was in the middle of green flag stops, and Reddick's right rear tire came off middle of the race, and that was again during stage 2. Got just over 200 people watching right now, 136 likes on the stream. We're 14 likes away from our goal. We have well more than 150 people watching, so definitely hit that like button, and we can get to our goal here in these final dozen laps. Truex slightly quicker. That last lap dropped to 30.964 to Chastain's 30.102. So actually Hamlin ran slightly quicker than Chastain that last lap as well. I think Chastain's starting to hit more lap traffic, and that could be the difference in him trying to win this race and not win the race, depending on who he catches and what lane they run versus the 1 car. Chastain back to the bottom, but was in the dirty air behind the lap car again through turns 1 and 2. He's going to go to the top this time. Martin Truex Jr. running the middle groove out of the way of the 1, but it looked like he did chatter the front tires a bit. Truex had to lift off the exit of turn 4 and might have lost more ground. 10 laps to go in the Ally 400 in Nashville. The 15 car going to lose another lap at the hands of race leader Ross Chastain. Chastain 0.2 quicker than Truex that last lap after Truex had that bobble in turn 4. Definitely tell he's trying to hold a lot more wide open speed as long as he can get through the corner. Really pushing hard trying to get to Chastain. It's just going to be so tough. And once he gets there, it's going to be tough to actually try to make the move if there isn't any sort of lap traffic in Chastain's way, which it doesn't really look like there's a whole lot in front of Chastain in the coming laps. Truex is going to need a little bit more time, and he just doesn't have that right now. He's trying to get by the 15 car. He'll have to go to the bottom of the track where he's been running the top more often. That's going to break the momentum maybe a little bit, and Chastain went to the bottom just to kind of add insult to injury for Truex that last time, and the lead's opened up to about a second, which is as much as the lead has been between these 2 cars since green flag pit stops. Guess Truex initially was about 1.2 seconds off the lead, ran down Chastain within a couple tenths early in the run where Truex has been stronger on the front side, but the back side of the run is where Chastain hasn't beat, and you're really starting to see that take over here over these last handful of laps because Chastain is starting to widen it out. Truex just isn't running quite as quick as him. He's maybe overdriving the car a little bit, and Ross Chastain is trying to drive off into the already sunset. A sunset already happened, but he's trying to drive off into the metaphoric sunset and get that first win of the season and try to climb himself back up in the points. He was leading in the standings for so long this year, lost the lead after the 600, lost even more points after a rough go the last 2 races at both Gateway and Sonoma. And now trying to get back on track and get that first win. Get the monkey off his back, lock him into the playoffs, so that way no tomfoolery happens in the second half of the season like we saw with Blaney and Truex last year when they went winless throughout the course of the 2022 campaign. 6 laps to go. Truex another 10th quicker that last lap, but he's going to have to continue to gain. He has been consistent with running the bottom recently, with Chastain being on the top. I think a lot of that is just trying to get the clean air, but maybe he's finding some slight gains there. By the way, great rally for Kyle Busch in the 8 car. He has made his way back up into the top 10 out of seemingly nowhere. Just kind of noticed that on the leaderboard all of a sudden, so a good climb through the running order for him. Ty Gibbs has kind of fallen off here. The final stage, he was as high as 8th at one point. Now he's back at 14th. So he hasn't ran quite as good as he was doing after those green flag pit stops took place. Truex another couple tenths quicker that last lap than Ross Chastain. Truex is finding speed somewhere. I'm not sure where, but he's finding it. We're down to 4 laps to go at the start-finish line. It did look like Chastain might have caught the lap car a little poorly off of turn 4. That would have been Todd Gilliland in the 38 car. Chastain again to the bottom. Martin Truex Jr.'s got to get by the 38 of Gilliland next. He does on the bottom lane as well through turns 1 and 2. And we'll see if Chastain catches any more lap cars. Truex has shrunk that gap down to about 6 or 7 car lengths on the backstretch. 3 to go this time by. Martin Truex Jr. just a lane off the top, lane off the bottom, I should say. Just enough to get a slight bit of clean air. Doesn't feel like the top is the way to go, at least at that end of the track. We'll see what he does in 1 and 2. Chastain was able to gap him a little bit again. Truex just seems to be gaining more on the bottom than what he is on the top. He's driving so hard on the corner entry and just trying to carry overall more speed all the way through the corners. Really the only chance he's having of trying to gain on the 1. But as he gets too close to him, he just can't hold that same amount of speed all the way through the middle of the corner because of that dirty air pocket. 2 laps to go for Chastain. He's got about a 0.6 of a second lead at the line. Truex trying to go for back-to-back wins after winning at Sonoma prior to the 1-week break they had last week during Father's Day weekend. No gain that time through 1 and 2 for Truex. More lap traffic up the way for Chastain, but I just don't think he's going to catch him in time for Truex to get any sort of a benefit off of it. Truex picks a different lane. He's going way up to the outside, maybe a little too far out of the groove that time through 3 and 4, just trying to do something different. He's running out of time. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go, sponsored by Credit One Bank. Ross Chastain is about a mile away from victory to get his first win of the season. It's going to come at Nashville. His teammate, Daniel Suarez, Tootsie sponsor. And they're out of Nashville, Tennessee. Worldwide Express on the car for Chastain this week. He'll take them to victory lane instead. Checkered flag is in the air, and Ross Chastain will win the Ally 400 at Nashville Superspeedway, his first win of the season. And it's his first win on an intermediate track in the NASCAR Cup Series, his 3rd overall in his NASCAR Cup career. Martin Truex Jr. will finish in 2nd, Denny Hamlin 3rd, Chase Elliott 4th, and Kyle Larson rounds out the top 5. William Byron 6th, Christopher Bell 7th, Eric Jones 8th, Kyle Busch 9th, and A.J. Allmendinger will round out the top 10. Brad Keselowski finishes 11th, Daniel Suarez 12th, Austin Dillon 13th, Ty Gibbs 14th, Bubba Wallace 15th, Ryan Preece 16th, Alex Bowman 17th, 18th was Chris Buescher, Joey Logano 19th, 20th was Corey LaJoie, Harrison Burton 21st was the last car in the lead lap. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finishes 22nd, Justin Haley 23rd, Kevin Harvick 24th, Eric Almirola 25th, Noah Gragson 26th, Austin Cindric 27th, Michael McDowell 28th, 29th was J.J. Yeley, Tyler Reddick 30th. 31st was Chase Briscoe, Ty Dillon 32nd, Brendan Poole 33rd. 34th was Josh Bilicki, Ty Gillen 35th, and Ryan Blaney, the only car that DNF'd today, finished 36th after his hard impact with the inside wall off turn 4. Burnout in the middle of turns 3 and 4 for Ross Chastain, as he is got to be ecstatic finally getting into victory lane. It's been over a calendar year since his last win. He hasn't won since Talladega in the spring, April of 2022, so it's been a long time coming. Daniel Suarez drove across the front bumper of the 14 car, knocked the toe link out on the right rear. I don't know if he was just going up the track to celebrate with Chastain or what it was there, but tough break for Suarez having that break on the race car. after the race nonetheless, but at least he was able to get the 12th place finish first. 3 hours 6 seconds total time on the race today. 3 hours almost right on the dot. And when this race did finish under its 400-mile, 300-lap regulation, 132.36 miles per hour was the average race speed, much faster than the Xfinity race yesterday, which was not as fast as Xfinity 10G. Chastain led the most laps today, led an even 100 laps in today's race, as you see on our screen. Denny Hamlin led the second most with 81 laps led. Your stage winners, Hamlin won stage 2. Tyler Reddick won stage 1. He led 33 laps today. Second place driver Martin Truex Jr. led 50 laps. Another burnout on the front stretch for Ross Chastain. And we'll get the classic watermelon smash here in a matter of moments. You'll get to listen from Chastain and some of the other top finishers here in our post-race show, so stay tuned. We'll have abbreviated coverage there. 4 cautions in today's race. Stage breaks and then the 2 incidents back in stage 2. $12 different drivers led, and again 22 lead changes amongst those 12 different drivers that led in today's race as well. Here is your race winner, Ross Chastain.
And he's going to come out the hatch. Ross Chastain, the family, watermelon farmers, and the celebration of smashing a watermelon about to take place.
On top of the watermelon smash, it's a hometown Nashville win for Trackhouse Racing, who likes to claim Music City as their hometown. Boy, Ross Chastain, what an impressive performance by you and your group. Have a little water, go ahead. After a rough month and a half for you and the one team, how's a win for a little medicine?
Only thing sweeter, Marty, is this Georgia watermelon. I gotta tell you, this is incredible. This is why every little kid out there, anywhere in the world, when you get criticized, and you're going to, if you're competitive, they will try to tear you down. You will start believing them. You can't do it. You have to go to your people, trust in the process, read your books, trust the big man's playing upstairs, and just keep getting up and going to work. I gotta tell you, a lot of self-reflection through all of this, but I had a group that believed in me, and they didn't let me get down. And they bring rocket ships, and I just try to point them to victory lane.
So you mentioned the criticism. How did you put it behind you, Ross?
Trust in my people, my family back home, the agriculture industry. They're always there for me. And then everybody at Trackhouse that Justin Marks puts in place with Phil Surgeon and our group on the 1 in 99. To win in Nashville is actually absolutely incredible. And then the WISE program and everybody at GM, Chevrolet. You know, it's I train with so many of my competitors, and but it makes us better, and I'm up against the best out here. So for everybody at Worldwide Express Racing, sweep the weekend with Carson Osevar, Nice Motorsports, get the pole. We won everything we could have with Wex Racing, and for Advent Health, Jockey, the Moose, and it's absolutely incredible, the fight that we have.
I love the emotion in the burnout, and you said in the middle of it, this is so much fun. Is that born out of relief, or where did that come from?
That's just a desire to win. I got to tell you, Marty, it's just so hard at this level, and it's the best of the best, and it's where I've wanted to be since I was 18 years old, and from studying for over 10 years to just to qualify better, let alone go race for a cup race win. You know, along the way, the journey, I'm so happy that the MMI group's here, and everybody that supports me. Yeah, look, it's a cup win. I don't care what happened the last month, the rest of my life. It's a freaking cup win!
There you go, Ross Chastain. 23, and now he's in the playoffs, Rick.
And he's going to keep taking care of that watermelon. Again, NASCAR America post-race show.
Alrighty, so we will... Well, we already went through the full field running order. The only other statistics, we do have to go through all the predictions and how they ended up. Again, any other race interviews on the side, you guys will get to listen in as well. Ross Chastain, again, gets the race win. 0.7 of a second was the margin of victory. He was one of the sleeper picks for today's race, so gets the W there. Martin Truex Jr. ends up finishing in second place. He was a must-have pick, and William Byron got a top 10 also, finishing in 6th. So 3 picks there correctly. Eric Jones had a top 10, predicted that one today. He finishes in 8th place. He was also one of the sleepers, so there's 4 for 4. Bubba Wallace didn't quite have the speed in the race car. He did finish 6th in stage 2, but it was with a little bit of help, obviously, from that mid-stage pit stop caution in the middle of green flag stops. He finished 15th, so that would have been the first prediction wrong. I also predicted for Tyler Reddick to win the race today, and therefore get a top 10. He ended up 2 laps down in 30th after his right rear tire came off. That said caution during the green flag pit stops as well after he had won stage 1. Who would have known if he could have had something for Chastain there? He and Chastain looked like the 2 fastest cars in the very early going of the race, but we'll never know exactly where Reddick would have been at the end if he could have had that clean stop, but nothing of his own doing there. Definitely on the pit crew on that one. The don't have picks that I predicted all to finish outside the top 10 was right on Daniel Suarez and Justin Haley. Haley finished 23rd after starting in 4th. Just didn't trust the speed that he had. I figured Allmendinger would have a much better shot at a top 10 today, and that was the case. AJ got the top 10, and again, well outside of that for Justin as he finished a lap down in 23rd. Daniel Suarez finished 12th. He was in the top 10 early going to stage 3, but kind of fell back after the green flag pit stops shaped up. He actually was one of the first cars to pit road, so he gained a little bit of time from that, but ended up falling back over the course of the run. Anyway, one of the few Chevys that really didn't have the greatest long-run speed that did fall back, but he did get overtaken by pretty much all Chevys except for Keselowski there at the finish. And Kyle Busch, who fought through adversity most of the day, finished in 9th place. I predicted him to not get a top 10 either, but I was wrong in that. So overall, pretty good on the predictions. I went 6 for 9, so 66% percentage there. I'll take that. Most weeks, yeah, anything above 50% is good, I guess, and yeah, so I'll take 6 for 9. Definitely don't want to miss the pre-race shows that we have for those fantasy/betting predictions, because they're pretty good throughout the course of the year. I will say though, Tyler Reddick, picking him to win 2 races in a row that he finished outside the top 10 in both races kind of stinks, but it happens. I predicted 6 winners so far this year. I'm sure I haven't predicted the last, but you can't predict them all either. I mean, the only other drivers I was considering taking over him would have been Chastain and more than likely Truex, and those were the 2 that battled him out for the finish. Just didn't pick the right ones, and you'll have that. Honestly, if Chastain would have won a race earlier this year, that might have swayed me in that prediction, but him not winning yet this season, obviously, I think that kind of factored into my pick. It's hard to pick somebody that hasn't won throughout the year versus somebody that has, even though Reddick hasn't won on an oval yet this season. That was the points coming in. Truex should still be the points leader overall. Chastain outscored him, but not by the 24 points he was behind coming in. The only other thing we got to look at is the Fantasy League. You can join the NASCAR Fantasy League on the mobile app or website. You can see right here, there's a quick link section at the top of NASCAR.com. You click on Fantasy Live. Chance to win 2 tickets to any NASCAR race if you're choosing the following season if you win the regular season or playoff championship. My team this week, pretty solid. I did have Reddick in the garage in time, so I did not leave any points on the garage. And outside of Joey Logano, my team had a pretty good run. I had Chastain, who won. I had Hamlin, who had a top 5, finished 4th. Truex finished 2nd, and Byron finished 6th. So pretty solid day there as far as the bonus points go. I had Hamlin beating Elliott, got that correct. Got Byron beating Blaney wrecked earlier. Chastain won, so he obviously beat Bubba Wallace. And Joey Logano ended up getting... He was the only one I didn't get the bonus points for. I had him beating Christopher Bell. A lot of that, I had Bell earlier before the race started, and that actually cost me money on the head-to-head bets too, because otherwise I would have hit on my round robin from 4 to 5. But I ended up switching it because I just figured starting that far up in the field that Logano was probably going to have speed. I should have stuck with my gut on that one. So Is what it is. 30 bonus points, though. Pretty good. And again, 4 of the top 6. And Logano ended up, what, 19th, I think, at the end. So definitely tough. Somebody mentioned in the chat he hasn't been running as good this year. I have mentioned it before. I've picked him as a don't-have pick to not get a top 10 finish like 3 of the last 5 or 6 races. And I was going to do it again today because I didn't fully trust him. But I didn't want to do that too many weeks in a row because it's kind of becoming redundant. It's too easy of a pick at this point. But yeah, Logano's struggling very much like how Keselowski was struggling his last year at Penske. It's kind of the same season Logano's having this year. Definitely a championship layover. This week in the points, EC23 is our race winner with 257 points. I finished in second with 252. Mark, the Kyle Busch fan, finishes with 240 in third. Inside Reyes finishes fourth with 228, and Dark Crypto with 227 rounds out our top 5. EC23, see who he had on his team. Truex, Reddick, Hamlin, Elliott Chastain, Suarez. So I actually scored more points there. The only place he beat me, he must have went 4 for 4. Yep, that's exactly what happened. He went 4 for 4 on the bonus picks. That's the only place he beat me because I had Reddick in the garage and he didn't. And I would have outscored him with Logano there by 1 point, I guess. I guess that's all we left on the table. So I outscored him by 1 point, essentially, there. But then he got me by 10 in the bonus points. So that was the difference. But I'll take second this week. I gained on everybody that was ahead of me in points, so that was important. So, all right, that is going to wrap up today's live commentary stream. I do think they have the post-race show on Peacock for anybody that does have Peacock the rest of the way. But thanks for everybody tuning in. As far as this stream goes, we are 3 likes away from our goal of 150. We are not going to end this stream until we get to 150 likes. So be sure to like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you haven't already. So again, be sure to like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. But we are not going to end the stream until we get 3 more likes. So definitely hit the like button if you haven't already. I thought they were talking to Chastain again. I think it was just the MRN people at the racetrack that they happened to have a camera on him while he was in victory lane. I guess this allows for you guys to maybe get more interviews if they do interview other drivers. Surprised they haven't yet interviewed anybody else. Maybe they're saving it for Peacock. I don't know how that's working exactly. You would think that they would show more on the actual telecast itself too. Okay, we're 1 like away. We had 2 of the 3 we needed. We need 1 more like on the stream before we end it to hit our goal of 150 for today. We are at 149. So again, if you haven't hit like yet, definitely do so. If you haven't subscribed yet, definitely do so as well. We are on the road to 5K. Again, hopefully we can get there within the next month or so. Might be a little bit of a stretch. Might be a couple months, but we'll get there. We'll get there sooner rather than later. It'll come before we know it. Still waiting on 1 more like. I just have a feeling that of the 84 people that are still watching after the race is over, that not all of you have hit the like button. Somebody has to hit the like for me to end this stream. Race Sparky 388 also welcome to the stream. I didn't see you earlier in the chat. Smokey in the pot came back in. NASCAR Vintage 17, welcome. Thanks for watching. I don't even know if you guys are still watching at this point, but thanks for tuning in anyway. I think that's pretty much it. Mark DeMars, thanks for tuning in there towards the end. Just going back through the chat to see if I didn't shout anybody out. I think I literally got everybody. Kathy Smith, I don't think I saw you earlier. Probably shouting everybody out that isn't even watching anymore. Oh, jeez. Come on, guys. We need 1 more like. Here's Denny Hamlin while we're waiting.
Just because both guys know that whoever gets out front is just going to set the pace. And
Can't give it up.
No, you can't. And, it's just
with everything being the same on the cars, it's just the track position just means more than anything. So you got to just battle, and we saw some great 3-wide racing there early on those restarts. But yeah, just wish I had a little more speed. That's what we needed.
9 more races, Denny, till we get to the playoffs. You're already in with the Kansas win. What do you need out of your weeks coming to that?
Really weeks like this, I mean, where nothing crazy goes on, and we just we optimize our day. We're usually going to find ourselves with a shot to win most weeks, as long as we don't make any mistakes and keep our track position. And that's what we did today.
Martin Truex Jr. comes home in the runner-up position. I know you were frustrated with what the car was giving you. At one point, frustrated with teammate Denny Hamlin. What needed to go differently, especially during that last stage?
Just needed to get the lead, I mean, once we lost it, I probably made a bad move, taking the bottom on a restart, and then just too loose in the long runs. I could hang with whoever was leading, just could never get off the corner good enough to make a move, just lacking side bite, and then overall just burning the rear tires off too much. Just really loose at the end of the race there as well, so just needed a little bit. Got lots of speed, just could never get the balance where it needed to be, and without having clean air, it was difficult. So overall, good night for our Bass Pro tracker. Toyota Camry, guys are doing a great job, just that close again. So we can keep doing this, we'll be in good shape.
You came in the points leader, you'll leave the points leader. Is that a net positive in terms of the weekend?
Yeah, especially if we gained on them, if we extended it, it's always good. It's a lot of points at the end of the regular season to get that, a lot of bonus points, so we'll take all we can. I was disappointed not to get the stage win there. We had it kind of wrapped up till that tire got away on the 45, but that's how these things play out. We just weren't quite good enough to be able to take the lead, and that was our issue, just burning the rear tires off too much, getting too loose in the long runs.
There you go, Martin Truex Jr. He winds up second. Denny Hamlin.
All right, there you heard from Hamlin and Truex there late. We did hit our goal, by the way, of 152. By the way, we had 150 likes as our goal. We hit 152, and I think somebody else might have liked and then liked again because it went back to 151. We hit our goal of 150, though. That's all that matters. Appreciate it, everybody, once again. I will see you guys probably in a couple weeks. I'll be more than likely heading to Chicago for the street course race next week, so there will be no live commentary stream for the Xfinity or Cup Series. There will be race highlight videos from the grandstands, though. Thank you. Have a good rest of your Sunday night, and I'll see you back tomorrow for some NASCAR 07. Can't wait to see you then for that one. And again, see you, everybody. Thanks for watching.